Do you want to know the truth about viruses?
And how they spread?
And if 5G is related to it or not, or even if it's COVID-19 is a virus. What do you think of that?
Wow, we're going there?
Yeah, we are going there.
Guys, we have Tom Barnett and Liz Barris on our show.
Yeah, these guys are going to be talking some real truths, I think. So we'll find out, guys. So stay tuned. We'll see you in 1 minute.
You are listening to Awaken Atlanta on the UI Media Network, a conscious way to start your day. Get ready to welcome the awesome duo, the uncensored and bubbly Shannon McVeigh, and the conscious voice of the South, Tim Ray, as they add a conscious twist to any and everything around you. So fasten your seatbelts, get ready for a ride around the Big Peach while we awaken Atlanta.
Good morning, good morning. I had your back. Did you see that? You keep doing
sure
that.
did.
Good morning, guys. We're so happy you're here. It's Awaken Atlanta. I missed you. I've got to say that I truly missed you. I'm Shannon McVeigh.
I'm Tim Ray. Yes.
We are talking about viruses today. How convenient, because there's COVID, there's 5G, there's vaccines. I'm trying to sound like Tim with everything.
So it's going to be a great show.
There's the secret space program. What else?
You know, there supposedly is some type of conspiracy behind this virus, and we're going to find out about that today with our very, very unique guests. We have Awaken star Tom Barnett.
I'm surprised you said unique and not special.
Well, you know, special guests like little school bus guests, special guests. No,
short bus guests today.
And Tom Barrett is far from that. All right. So have you listened to him? He's an Australian accent. You know.
No, but is he handsome?
I don't know.
If he's easy on the eyes, I'll watch it.
You'll love him, Shannon.
All right, you love him, Shannon.
But you know, and he's been, you know, there's some folks on there who's been talking some smack about him on YouTube. I checked out, and you know, all they do is this is what you know when someone is not telling you the truth is all they do is go after they're attacking their personal self, they're attacking their character.
Like you got attacked. Why don't you ease it in and let us know about your little attack Facebook fight this weekend that you were like so obnoxiously typing on, but you kind of got bullied, but then you had your crew come and have your back.
Well, it's just do you
know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, but I wasn't.
Don't read it.
I know, but I wasn't bullied. It was just this.
Oh, you weren't?
It was this.
Well, why'd you call me crying then?
Yeah, right. There was this girl, she was just totally never heard of anything going on with the virus other than what the mainstream media tells her and what the doctors tell her that she gives her everything over to. So this was all a shock to her. She was in denial. She didn't admit anything. She was articulate, but she just was not able to digest what we were sharing, you know? And so I was trying to get the point across to her.
She was regurgitating like what she's learned, what we've all learned.
Well, listen, you know, you go to WebMD. By the way, we are going to talk some WebMD perspectives of the virus, so you know you can challenge that, which all of us can. But a lot of the places she goes to, unfortunately, is the CDC, the FDA. You know, you got Mayo Clinic. I hate to tell you guys,
Mayo Clinic I don't trust.
Listen, all these guys are compromised, and you got to find out who butters their bread, and that's the whole point. And it's hard to believe that when you hear the CDC, because they're setting our policies and recommendations for what our local health counties are doing to what everyone's doing right now, and they're corrupt, and we know they're corrupt, and we know they made lies.
Of Medicine, is that a legit source? Or
Guys,
is that corrupt?
Over the decades, they became corrupt. They were bought out by the powers that be, the ones who run the show, the Rockefellers, right, and the Rothschilds. These guys corrupted them over the decades and through money, monetary blackmail, you name it. And they have doctors through ignorance. They have doctors only learning certain things about our health because, you know how many doctors know about vaccines, what's in the vaccines? The majority of our doctors don't even know what's in the vaccines. They don't know. And the pediatricians I'm talking about who are administering them to your little child has no idea what's in the vaccines. You should test them out. Go check it out.
Speaking of pediatrician, I need a new one because I think that mine is somebody who just got her degree off of like some foreign website, third world country type thing, because she does not know what the heck she's talking about.
Well, most of them don't. Doctors are so compromised theyese days. It's scary. They're not really learning how to really take care of things, you know, and so, you know, I think, well, there you go.
Wow, amateur hour here at Awaken Atlanta. So Agate says, hi. Susan said, I stayed up all night to make sure I didn't miss this. My Facebook got disabled. I teach neuropathic ways to heal ex-pharma. I know the truth. This is all BS.
Well, you know,
I love you, Susan. What a statement, girl.
It's tough. Susan, it's tough, isn't it? Because here it is. you're going against not only mainstream, but you're going against top docs who are indoctrinated into this too. Either they believe it.
They just don't know any better, I don't think.
I think the majority of them don't challenge. They're not using their critical thinking. See, when you specialize in medicine, Shannon, think about that.
Yes, sir.
That you're only going to focus on the liver or the ears, throats, and mouth. You're only going to focus on that to where that's where you look at. So you don't look at the human being as a holistic perspective, like body, mind, and soul. You don't look at the person,
Right. We're all like everything. Everything matters. Our teeth to our ears to our feet to our toes. Hey, Sean is finally on. We've missed you. And he said, good morning. My main account yet again was on another 30-day ban for sharing the truth.
Listen,
so that's what's going on.
okay.
We were shadow banned bad last week.
Let me tell you, we're trying to fight. We've been in a chat because you can't even call Facebook anymore, right? So this is a true story.
Okay, great.
And Facebook's a great forum, but they've been compromised, just like the CDC, the FDA. They've been compromised by the George Soros' gang, who are on the board of directors. Who his people are now making sure that people don't, share the truth.
I'm sure Zuckerberg has something more involved than you realize.
Oh, Zuckerberg works for the NWO, But point is being this fact checkers guys are ridiculous. There's no truth to it. They're liars. They don't care what the truth is. They are there to weed out channels that are telling the truth. And they're using these guys like, you get 4 or 5 strikes. They're striking us for example. They're striking us for actually sharing. Like if somebody shares something that they say is not the truth, which it is the truth. They say they're nailing
with the air quotes, Tim. Remember, you can only do one good air quotes in one story. You cannot continuously do that.
But everything's a lie. I mean, how can you not? I should beat the whole thing, everything like this all day long.
Oh my gosh!
All right.
Susan said, I can't say it actually.
All right.
Effelberg. Agatha says, good morning from Norway. Sean says, good morning, Tim and Shannon. We missed you.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, everybody.
We're gonna have a great show today. I'll tell you why I'm so excited.
Why don't you tell me who these people are? Because you really are excited about our guests
because
today.
they're
Tom Barnett.
Tom Barnett, you're gonna love this guy and his perspective. I don't know if what he's saying is the truth because I have questions for him. Like, what about like measles or virus? He's saying they're not viruses. What about and you can't get them contagious unless you're injected in your bloodstream. What about measles? What about like chicken pox? What about all the viruses? I mean,
so we're gonna vet him out here live air.
We're gonna vet it out. We're gonna vet it out.
Live air. Wake in Atlanta.
But he's strong enough to handle those truths, I'm sure.
Okay.
And then we got also Liz Barris. She's an activist. She's suing. She has a lawsuit going on against the FCC.
Why?
Because
the FCC, like radio? Is she in radio?
No, the FCC because of the FCC's behind the 5G rollout, right?
What?
Yes.
The FCC is, I thought, who we have to listen to and not what we are allowed to say.
Yes, but the internet, which is weaponized, is the 5G is that's what they're saying they're using to help the internet be better, right, and communication better, right, which is, I believe, not the truth. But what's happening is that she's suing them with a whole bunch of really top-lying people. And because they're putting these 5Gs, they have put them in your school systems.
Wait.
And kids are now getting sick that never got sick before.
My mind is a little blown right now because you're saying this. Susan's saying you cannot catch a virus. What? Yes, you can. How do you catch a cold? You don't catch it?
Well, we're gonna find that out. We're gonna find out if you can't catch a virus because we're gonna find out like herpes is a virus. You got.
You can spread herpes.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They're gonna have to answer these questions.
Isn't that the number one STD in America or the world?
Probably that, and plus you got measles as a virus, right? And you got chicken pox.
What's a common cold? A virus, right?
No,
and like the stomach bug.
Common cold. Yeah, I think common cold is like a virus. Yeah.
So of course you can spread that.
Well, we're gonna find out. They're saying they're gonna tell us why we can't. Maybe there's something else going on. Maybe 5G's behind it too. Some people believe this is the truth, and I don't know. We're gonna ask questions today.
I feel like I'm in quantum physics right now.
But they say, for example, the increase in all these flus, quote unquote flus.
Okay.
All these increase in these flus have been in line with the increase in electromagnetic frequencies throughout our experience of electromagnetic frequencies. So, for example, back in I guess 1918, what was the big flu then? Anybody remember? The Spanish flu. They're saying that came out in conjunction with radio.
Yes, I heard that.
And then back in 1940s, there's another flu came out. And I can't remember. That was in conjunction with the radar, which is more increased electromagnetic frequencies. Then in the 1960s, Hong Kong flu was now the beginning of 5G or 1G and then 2G, 3G. So as we've been increasing these Gs and all these things, the electromagnetic frequency has been intensifying. And they're saying that that's causing, some people believe that's actually creating viruses, so-called viruses. I'm not going to do the quote. But,
so 5G, I mean, it wasn't always around, but you do believe that's what causes viruses, is things like that. The radiation type?
Well, I'm saying, they're saying...
Dare you say that?
A lot of people are saying that 5G is the latest COVID-19 flu. But the 1G, 2G, 3G throughout...
I feel like that's like the
1960s.
Okay.
that could be causing it. I mean, listen, it may be like a flat earth thing that makes no sense, but we're going to find out today, guys, because that's what we do. We get to the bottom line.
That's why it's so important to prevent it. That's why it's important to go see Dr. Gramath at Right Way Health and Wellness and do the lymphatic drainage and do the preventative and do the IV cocktails. It's so important, right?
Oh, I'm a big believer in it. I think the IV cocktail knocked out.
Are we going to have a show on 5G, by the way?
We did. We're going to have some more shows on that because it's here. The biggest concern I have about 5G that most people, and it's being shut down. Your conversation is being shut down on the internet. It's being shut down everywhere.
That's why people are spelling out the number 5 and then G. They're doing GEE.
Guys, if they're shutting it down, they don't want you to know, then you know there's something behind it.
They shut down Save the Children. How can you shut that down?
Save the Children about the pedophile, the satanic pedophile. Yeah, I know.
I just don't get it. But you guys, I am so excited to tell you that we had so many amazing shows coming up.
Oh, yes, we do. Yes, we
had a production meeting on Thursday. Ashley, our producer, was about to pull her hair out with us because, especially with Tim and I's ADD, not knowing what we're doing. But we have so much. Ashley, do you remember off the top of your head just 3 or 4 shows to come?
Mainstream media, beauty pageants, frontline doctors.
Yeah.
Alternate dimensions.
Conspiracy theories.
Alternate dimensions. Alternate dimensions. Come
aliens.
on.
I'm excited for those. Is that weird?
No, it's not. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, normally you'd never want to know about the aliens.
Because I used to not believe in it, but now I still don't believe in it.
Billy Carson sold you, didn't he?
Who's that?
Billy Carson?
No, I don't know.
He's the one who ran into the Grays. She said, I don't believe any Grays.
Oh, is that who was on our show last year, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
All right, well, sorry, Billy. We'd love to have you back. Yes, he did say that. Okay, Sean said the biggest elephant in the room is the climate engineering and HARP weather modification program. Over 100 years of it.
Guys, we had a show on Frequency Wars called The Sky is Falling. Talked about that. Had some great folks on there. Go check it out on
Frequency Wars
UI
is
Media.
A brilliant show, and it's so up your alley. And I'm so glad you're doing that over the Good Intention show.
All right. Well, Good Intention I love too because it was more the metaphysical aspect of looking at life, which I think is the bottom line. I mean, we are spiritual beings having a human experience here, and the sooner we realize that, the sooner we realize we're empowered to create our reality. Right.
Every time you tell me that, I'm less afraid to die. So I appreciate that.
But think about that. Most people right now are scared. The people who believe in Christ or believe in life after death are scared to death of getting a COVID-19, which is so much BS to it, right? That they're so scared of that they're so scared of dying, getting the disease and dying. Where's your faith in God? Where's your faith
because you have bullies out there, because the people like us, bullies, they'll write us, and this makes me afraid. They're like, oh, you look really great with a ventilator down your throat. You know what I mean? It's awful and mean. It's crazy. And then I just read somebody's story, and they were like, God, I'm so surprised at some of you that I watched your stories that you're not sick with coronavirus yet. And I'm like, why is everybody wishing that on people like us? They're wishing we get sick, so we're put in our place. I did the quotes for you. But I did it once. Did you see the art behind it?
Well, we'll see. This show's still early. We'll see how many times you do it. So, Shannon, do you know the hydroxychloroquine, how that now, you can't say that on air. They're censoring that now, word too. But one of the cities...
Say it 3 times fast. Go.
Hydroxychloroquine.
Damn, okay.
So I was saying it wrong in the past, but I forgot the oxy part. But anyway,
you were saying hydrochloroquine?
Thank you for correcting me. What?
You were saying chloroform?
Chloroform.
You need to take some chloroform.
It'll
make you feel so much better.
That Joe Biden grabbed from behind, the chloroform, So
Agate says, so many that want to talk truth. I wonder what truth really is.
Are you guys not overloaded with information these days? Are you guys, people having a breakdown where you can't take information? I think it's done deliberately, where there's so much disinformation out there that you don't know what's true or not. You're overloaded. You shut down. You can't process it anymore. Raise your hand if you're experiencing that. Raise your hand.
Raise your hand if you are watching this on Facebook right now. You guys got to share it because we're shadow banned. I'm just going to remind you while he's on his tangent.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Keep going.
So, aren't you? Don't you feel like you're overwhelmed?
Yeah, because I'm easy to be nudged one way or the other. Why do you always do that?
Because you always speak over your mic.
You can
audio issues
basically
later.
peer pressure me into anything, like ever. All right, real quick. Brett says, I'm overloaded with info. Billy said, I just call it the Hydra. Susan said, transmute that wish back to those folks wishing you get sick. Send them back sevenfold. Bam. She's funny. And then she also said, energy just transforms. It never dies.
Well, it's true. But I think when this...
What does it transform into, though? I don't want to do this life again, guys. I'm telling you, I'm out.
Why? This is a great life.
Because you don't know what happens to you as a child, and you are out of your control, and it's sad and it's hard. No way.
But think about this. Think if you believe in a spirit that
Why
continues
can't I just
on.
go be in heaven with Jesus and God and all my friends and have a party?
You know how boring that would get after a while?
It wouldn't.
I think it would. Everyone has to be nice to each other all the time.
No, they won't. They don't have to. They want to be, and probably they can fight.
It means everything's so happy. What about gambling? What about going to strip clubs? You can't do that anymore?
There probably could be that in your heaven. I don't know. I'm just saying, why would you want to? We should do, okay, write this down. Let's do a show on reincarnation and people that believe that they were reincarnated.
It reminded me of a Twilight Zone movie where the guy thought he was in heaven, but he was in hell, and he got everything he wanted.
Oh my God.
He's like, get me out of here. He's like, you're in hell. But oh my God, I saw a Twilight Zone movie with Tommy. Tommy, remember that Twilight Zone movie
Here
we
we
watched
go
the other
with
day?
the Twilight Zone again. You brought this up last week. Do you have dementia?
I'm telling you, we are in a Twilight Zone right now. Don't you feel like we're in a Twilight Zone movie right now, living in life right today, since 5 months ago, 6 months ago? You don't think we're in a Twilight Zone movie?
Yeah, I totally do. Especially with not to mention everything that's going on with Corona, with the BLM, with the looting and the division, but also people are getting sick.
Okay.
People are scared. I've never seen this many people that I love and respect so afraid.
Oh, it's like, God, get some faith. Listen, Shannon.
Yes,
in the Twilight
sir.
Zone movie, Tommy, what was the name of that?
Here we go,
movie?
Tommy. This is a repeat of last week.
I know, right? What was the name of that movie at Twilight Zone we watched? You got
the Obsolete Man.
Obsolete Man, guys.
All right,
watch
what's
it.
that?
It was all about living in this totalitarian world, which we're going into, right? And how they're condemning this librarian because he believed in books and they said his job was obsolete. Books are bad, right? And you need the state's in charge. You got to do everything for the state, which is communism, right? Which is socialism, which we're going into. And it was it was back in the 1960s, And it's like, wow, man, this is exactly what's happening today.
So do you think that there was somebody who kind of saw it, like The Simpsons? Have you noticed that The Simpsons?
Rod Sterling, yeah, that guy knew what was going on.
Why? How? Do you think he came back in time?
No,
he time traveled after he saw
Shannon,
what would happen.
This is what's so idiotic.
I'm just
idiotic
trying to
about
get
everything.
freaky on Awaken Atlanta.
This is what's so idiotic right now.
Okay, tell me.
You know what it is?
No, tell me.
Communism.
Yeah.
Is not far. Like you were born when communism was going on.
I was?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And back in the 60s, people...
No, I wasn't. I was born in the 80s.
I know. I'm saying back in the 60s, people were hiding underneath their chairs or their desks in school because they thought they're being bombed by communists, right? So people were conditioned on... And communism is horrible.
The Russians. I used to...
The Russians,
honest
the
to God, my
Chinese.
stepdad used to always say, the Russians are coming. So it would freak me out. Every time I'd see a plane fly above, I'd duck.
The Russians are coming. The Russians
Take
are coming. The redcoats. All right. So honestly, that people knew how horrible, what the Chinese had to go through and what they tortured people. And it was always initially in every one of these communist movements, whether it was the Jews in Russia starting all that, or it was the Chinese in China starting all that, it was always that, hey, this is great for you. You're going to enjoy this. This is the best thing since sliced bread. Everybody joined, right? And those some people who were destroying the statues and destroying and burning down the places, right, were the ones who were first on the line of being eliminated. And so they all start out great. This is a great thing until they start dying. And then they start killing millions and millions of people. And this is how close we are from this happening in America. And most people don't even realize it.
Okay. Well, Susan just brought up a great point. She said that she wants to do a show on energy vampires because I feel like that, because you just sucked all the energy out of the room with that story. So, Ashley, write that down. Let's do a show on that. Brett is saying parallel demonstrators. What's that? Is that like quantum physics?
Well, parallel demonstrators. Probably that they, like what's happening with Antifa and BLM.
I thought it was like quantum physics, like other dimensions. Are we doing a show in other dimensions?
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
Brilliant. I'm so excited for
Shannon,
those shows.
this is like unlike you. I can't believe you're interested in that type of.
Isn't it crazy?
What's
Tim
up with
was
that?
talking to me this morning. He's like, Shannon, if you didn't work with Awaken Atlanta, you'd be the one wearing the mask. I'm like, oh, atop that, I'd be wearing a mask, goggles, gloves, face shield. I'd be in fear. Could you imagine?
You would be. You'd be coming with goggles on right now.
I'd be so afraid if it wasn't for you. Agate says, we go like sleepwalkers, unaware that our thoughts belong to other spirits. Wait, I'm going to claim my own thoughts. Can I do that? Can I have authority over myself? Well, why does everything, okay, I've been working with like recall therapy and everything, and I love it.
What is recall therapy?
I don't know how to explain it. Are you kidding? That's out of my pay
If you're doing something you can't explain?
It's basically like, yes. Yes, I am. Like every day I wake up, I have no clue where I am, why I'm here.
Jesus.
It's basically like you go through certain traumas in your life and you release it, things that you've held on to, or things that maybe even cause sicknesses in you. You release the trauma that was stuck there.
Okay, so these folks believe that all physical ailments are manifest first from energy.
Yes, there's a conflict there in our body.
An emotional conflict. Okay.
Yes. So like if you get coronavirus, it's because there was a conflict there to begin with. Okay. And I remember when I first learned that, I was like, oh, God, you're crazy. Yeah. But now I'm like, yeah, I totally get it.
Like even with cancers and things like that, right?
Yes, there's a conflict. Yes, for sure. But
like an emotional conflict or suppressed energy. Because I'll tell you, that makes sense to me. Because energy is real. I mean, you guys, quantum energy is real. We can measure
thoughts
it.
First, energy follows. Yeah. Wherever your thoughts go, energy follows. That's the one thing I've learned.
Yeah, and what you focus on expands, right? So
it's
this
same thing.
This fear all the time is going to keep expanding what we're experiencing. So,
Susan said emotional pain manifests into disease. Yes.
There you go.
So Brett says we are energy. So that's a big thing. Emotional pain manifests into disease. That's another show we're having, guys, on holistic versus allopathic, right? Or integrative versus allopathic. So we're going to learn so much because you can heal yourself. And all these people want to be really quick to give you a lifetime of hell. Okay, so you realize once you research something, it comes up on your phone on Facebook in the ads.
It's so much more powerful than ever before. It happens all the time.
Okay,
now.
so now everything on my ads, I see all these dying women of like dying and they have the oxygen up to them and they have the shaved head because of cancer or whatever. And I'm like, what the hell? Who wants that kind of life? Like, if you get a diagnosis, it doesn't mean you have to have that kind of life. You can fight. It's not even fighting it. You taught me something, too. Tim says, and if you guys have these diseases out there, this is so beautiful. He says, why would you fight something in your body? It's your body. Don't fight your body. Love your body. Did I say it right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, your body's telling you something. You're not doing something, or something's not right. But my mom died. My mom died of lung cancer, and for 6 years she went through chemotherapy, and it's like it was no quality of life. I mean, and the quality of life got worse every year after year. And it's like you're extending your life maybe 6 years more or 4 more years to live in that pain of the chemo every week. You got to get it. I mean, what kind of quality of life is that?
Well, I think that sometimes chemo works. You got to do like low doses of chemo.
Okay,
it's not necessarily.
But if it's true, if recall therapy is true, Shannon.
Yes, then why can't we heal?
Not forget that. If it's true, then if you don't deal with your original core issue, the emotional aspect or the energy aspect of it, why would not that cancer come back again or come back in some other type of manifestation?
Right, it will. That's awful, though. Way to discourage people.
Well, I'm saying...
Seriously, so how do you heal, though, if you don't know what's wrong? So, like, what if you're trying to heal and you don't quite know how to get there because you don't know what you're missing? You don't know what you don't know.
Okay,
you can't,
that's where I think you got to be your own doctor. You got to do your own research. You got to vet it out yourself. You can't... I think our number one problem is we give so much power to doctors, to authority.
I sure do. I give it to anybody. I'm like, just tell me I'm going to be okay. Here, go ahead and cut me open.
I put a meme up the other day on Dr. Who's our frontline doctor? What's her last name?
Emmanuel.
Yes.
Stella.
Yes.
Stella, and
who's
then
the frontline doctor who is getting backlash like crazy because she said that she believes in demon sperm and aliens.
All right, and then I put it next to Bill Gates, and so here we are. Is Bill Gates not an MD, not a doctor? We should post that. I don't know if you could post that up there. You should. It's on my homepage. But and here it is. We're giving all the credibility to Bill Gates and none to this doctor who's been curing 100% of her patients with hydroxychloroquine, right? With all these other doctors, but we give her no credit because the media is going with this alien sperm thing, right? And which we don't even know if what's true. Half the people in the world believe in aliens, by the way. 60% of the people believe in aliens, just so you know that. So here it is, they're and the media is so effective that they discredit her and they make Bill Gates, who's a high school or college dropout, the hero. It's like, this is amazing, the power of the media, what they could do.
Yeah, so this is interesting what Brett just said. He said, don't use a sunscreen. It gives you skin cancer. Yeah. The sun heals cancer. Like, I would always spray my kids down with sunscreen.
Me too.
Well, geez,
I still
the
do
more
with
you
myself.
know. I wish I could read.
I tried the natural one. I got fried.
Iona said, "Boom dias míos, ótima programa suceso." Good morning, another great program success. Agate says, "I have no money, but I have a free soul." God,
Amen.
And you can't put money on that.
You can't put money on that, Agate.
Susan said they give you a diagnose to get paid. You seriously can't not wear the jersey of whatever disease you have.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Well,
Sean said the average lifespan of someone who has chemo is 5 years.
Yeah. So, but think about the 5 years of quality. You're so scared to death that you're still so scared of not knowing that you heal yourself. Let me ask you a question, Shannon.
Ugh.
Do drugs, medications heal people? What would you first?
I would say yes, like antibiotics. If you have
okay, but even antibiotics, do they heal people?
They get rid of the infection.
No. So what it is I mean, well, antibiotics may be a little different because they attack certain things, but let's just say like the drugs that you take, right?
Okay.
The body heals itself. The body creates its own immune system, its own antibodies, right?
Right.
And so these pills that we create are just like an amplification of already stuff that you already have in your brain pharmaceutical, your body pharmaceutical drug company that you already have inside your body. So it just amplifies, it manages the symptoms so your body then can heal itself. So you already heal yourself. Doctors really don't heal you. It's just they manage symptoms so your body can heal itself. It's like when you get a cut. Like you get a cut.
And you put a Band-Aid over it?
Yeah, but the Band-Aid's helping with the symptoms so you keep bleeding, but your body heals, your white blood cells heals yourself. So we have the ability to heal ourselves. We just don't give ourselves credit. We've been so conditioned to give our hands over to doctors. Think about that.
Agate said cancer can be a spirit that cling on long time and cause you sick.
That's
how she wrote it.
Yeah, so there is something to this entity detachment program.
Ooh, sorry. This is like freaking me out reading all these comments.
Right, read it.
Susan said the chemo sets you up for cancer down the road. It changes your DNA. Sean said all drugs have side effects. Billy said drugs can keep you alive, but the body ultimately corrects itself.
Yeah.
So what would you say to somebody, though? What would you say? Like, what's the work to start? You have to do the emotional. You have to eat healthy.
Yeah. Your diet's everything.
Diet is freaking everything.
Well, your emotions everything, but diet's second.
You know what? This is one thing that I've learned is I don't eat healthy, and I love processed food. I love processed food. I will say that out loud.
Ask Tommy that. Tommy, you like processed food?
It's ridiculously obnoxious. It's gross and it makes you sick. And I don't want to teach my kids to like that, but our parents taught us because they didn't know any better.
No, not only our parents didn't teach us, the television taught us. Doritos and all these snacks you see on television, they're all created to mind control us. And then we're in hypnosis when we watch TV anyway.
You know what? If you have cancer, guys, look up the Gerson Clinic and just go to one of those things and you go. They have them in Mexico. I think they even have a couple in Arizona.
Why don't they have anything here in the United States? Oh, I know why. Because Rockefellers won't let you.
I think they have something at a Sedona Wellness Center in Arizona. But go to it. They basically, you can go there, like most people are there for 6 weeks, and you come out and your cancer's cured in 6 weeks.
Oh, guys, I have great news.
Oh, what?
Okay, so
I love good news.
So UIMediaNetwork.org, our website, now hosts Awaken Atlanta because our concern is that Facebook and YouTube, all the
rest. They're
rest.
not letting us out. Share this now. I'm peer pressuring you guys to share it. If you like our show, freaking share it.
And that eventually we're going to have on there, you can make comments, but we're going to have the Facebook experience, which we're working on right now with our new team. And so you'll be able to have that experience. But in case you ever get kicked off of Facebook, or sometimes they kick you off every other minute, go to uimedianetwork.org and watch us live too as well.
Agate says, I clear my mum from spirits from lifetimes back to the beginning. She now has a choice. I feel like you should always you can claim authority over your own body. Right. Like, that's one thing that don't you think that? Or no? Do you think that other people, okay, so you didn't let me finish my train of thought. The recall therapy, a lot of what we go through is our parents' crap. Did you know that?
Really?
So it's generational.
Can we talk about that after the break? And I think we may be having a phone call from one of our OGs today. So.
Oh, yeah. I love phone calls.
All right.
And do we have a game? I love games.
Not really today.
Oh, come on. I want a good funny
I think we can make a phone call. I think we're going to call some of your family members.
Oh, I'd be so pumped.
Would you?
I'm going to call my grandma.
Let's call your grandma.
Yeah, right. We can't wake her up at 7 in the morning.
So what?
Hey, Gram.
Wake up, grandma.
You're 90, but hey, Tim wanted to talk to you.
Up.
Guys, share this. We'll be right back.
The time to defy the modern agenda is now. UI Media Network presents Frequency Wars, an explosive new series that examines contentious subject matter pursuing us beyond our five senses. This weekly series discovers the intricacies of imposing issues that challenge our daily existence and question humanity. Provocative and intriguing, we confront the issues and conflicts affecting us on a global scale. Manipulation, manpower, or others simply controlling your mentality. The commentary and guests will shift our paradigm and defy the status quo.
In 1979, the so-called father of Israeli intelligence, a guy called Issa Harel, told an American journalist that there was going to be an Islamic attack on New York's biggest building.
Bill Gates, he is publicly saying we should consider microchipping all of humanity so we can track their vaccination status.
What you see in movies like The Avengers, that's actually true.
What will you believe? Frequency Wars challenges perception to take back your sovereignty. The power and purpose are greater than any of us, but we will test it all. Frequency Wars, the next revolution. It's that time again. Time to have fun, play games, and talk to your tribe. Whether you want to talk to a friend, need advice, or just want to connect, we got you. So what are you waiting for? It's time to win cool prizes. Pick up that phone and give us a call at 678-495-4345. Get ready to raise your vibe. It's tribe time.
Good morning. Welcome to Awaken Atlanta. Shannon McVeigh, Tim Ray. We are talking about viruses. We're going to talk about the truth about viruses, or at least seek truth, because
What do you think a virus is?
Well, according to what a virus is a submicroscopic agent that infects living organisms. And according to WebMD, can we talk about how they say COVID spreads?
WebMD's compromised, just so you know that.
WebMD,
yes.
Who funds it, Tim?
Yeah, well, you'd be surprised when you start investigating. You go right now. You can go find out who the funders are. You got to go to these nonprofits. You got to find out who the companies are supporting them, and these companies call the shots. It's like WHO is ran by Bill Gates now in America or America, I think, backed out supposedly. But Bill Gates, created a pandemic.
If you don't think there's like a group of people that work together like the cabal, then you are really blind, because you can't keep saying that at this point. People always say, "Oh, what do you think that these smart people got together to change the world?" Yeah. Hello.
It's called the Bilderberg Trilateral Commission.
Oh my gosh.
Council of Foreign Relation. Hello, UN. Yeah, they got together, trust me, and they're still getting together every year.
All right, so according to WebMD, how COVID spreads, droplets or aerosols. So when an infected person coughs, sneezes, talks, droplets are any tiny particles called aerosols carry the virus into the air from their nose or mouth. Anyone within 6 feet of that person can breathe it into their
now
lungs.
our guest coming in, or at least one of our guests coming in, Tom, he doesn't believe that to be true. So he's challenging the WebMDs. What do you think of that? He's not a doctor. He's not a doctor.
I hope
either.
he stays alive, because apparently that's another thing I've learned is you can't challenge anything.
They took off his video. They took his video off of YouTube.
Del Bigtree's back
On YouTube?
Highwire is back on Facebook.
On Facebook. They took him off of YouTube.
All right. Also, airborne transmission. So it says research shows that a virus can live in the air for up to 3 hours. It can get in your lungs if someone who has it breathes out and you breathe in the air.
Wow.
All right. Surface transmission. Another way to catch the coronavirus is when you touch surfaces that someone who had the virus had touched. The virus can live on surfaces in plastic like stainless steel for 2 to 3 days. See, they came out saying that a lot of these things were fiction, that it wasn't the truth. Something about the stainless steel, like it does not live on it like they thought.
Yeah, well, that's why they're getting rid of coins, because they don't want COVID viruses on the coins. Guys, even Susan says BS, BS, germ theory is BS. Huh, that's interesting. We'll find out about that.
Okay.
So, yeah, I know. But now they're saying it's on coins. You have to get rid of coins now because COVID travels on coins. Can you believe this?
This is absolutely absurd. I think just wash your freaking hands. And stop wearing a mask. You guys are getting more sick. Well, can I tell you real quick, side note? I took Winnie to her first day of school. I was a nervous wreck because, she's not going to wear a mask. She's 5. She's going to touch it with her dirty fingers and drop it and pick it up and put it back on her face. Absolutely not. I'm not doing that to my kid.
You tell the teacher that?
I did tell the teacher that.
And she was
absolutely
so cool. Not. You say, well, if you want,
yes,
if you force them to do it.
I showed up and there were 2 other parents with their kids in my class. And one mother showed up with a mesh mask, and I knew I loved her. She's just doing it as like an FU. And her daughter is also not going to wear a mask. So I was so happy to hear that. So now Winnie won't get picked on because at least there's going to be another 5-year-old without a mask on.
Well,
and even the teacher was just
the fact that
like,
you have to worry about your kid getting picked on for not wearing a mask is sick.
Are you kidding? They shame you into everything, dude. That's what you do. You bully people into thinking what you want them to think. It's awful.
It's crazy. It is really crazy.
Yep. All right. So, and then fecal and oral. So studies also should suggest that virus particles can be found in infected people's poop. But why would you touch somebody else's poop? Like, I don't get that. So if a person uses the bathroom and doesn't wash their hands, they can infect things and people they touch. That goes down to basics. Why are we not washing our hands when we go to the bathroom? Why are we not washing our hands when we get in from a grocery store? Why are we not washing our hands before we eat? Come on, wash your hands. That's what you do.
But that really bothers me about the kids, though. It really does.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Is that the kids now have to worry about, I'm going to make friends with kids who do not have masks. I'm going to make friends with kids who only have masks.
It's another division for sure.
I mean,
I told Winnie, honestly, I said, baby, if people come up to you and ask you why you're not wearing a mask, you can't fault them because they just don't know better. Their parents just don't know better. And she goes, yeah, mama, because you research. Yes,
listen,
baby,
I'm reading these comments on Reopener Georgia, which is a great group to join, guys. And it's just like a lot of these moms saying, oh my God, they're in tears that they had to bring their children. They wanted to bring them to school. The child's crying at home. They want to be with other friends. But the schools won't let them open up because even if they wear masks, they're not allowed to. And the parents like, just wear the mask. Well, I want them to go to school. And everyone feels so sorry, which I get it. But the fact that they're like, let them wear masks, let them get to school is, my God, you don't understand. To me, I would have come like, this is just sick. And they had no idea what I meant by it. But it's just like, this is sick that we're willing to compromise our children's health with not breathing oxygen, right, to get them to school. This is sick that we have to deal with this.
They're not doctors. They're not with these professional grade masks, and they know when to take them off and to wash their hands and to sanitize it. We're talking about children.
I know.
Come on, there needs to be a law in order that children do not have to wear masks. My kid, we went back to school shopping and we went to Target and they tried to make Winnie wear a mask and I just ignored it and they let me shop. They didn't say no. I put one on as respect, but I'm like, I'm not putting one on my 5-year-old. Yeah, she's just gonna get sick.
Well, yeah, and what if it's true about viruses? What if like they can't? This is my concern. We have a lady coming on today. It's Liz Barris, and she's going to talk about their 5G connection to the flu, right? And what if now they loaded up in your schools, on your buses, especially in Georgia and around the country, that they have 5G now in our schools and in our buses. So they did that since the beginning of the year. So what now? Who's going to point the finger at? What if kids in school start getting COVID-19?
Right.
What do you think it's due to?
What do you think it's due to?
I think it's related to 5G somehow.
I think it's fake, and also because of masks. I think that people are just getting the common cold, and then they go and get tested, and these test sites are so corrupt that everybody's freaking positive. Oh, my God,
don't get me on the testing.
Not to mention, I don't even want to know if they... I mean, this might be conspiratory, but, like, how do you know that they're not putting corona up you? Like, how do they know? Because they are not that they're doing it on purpose, but you don't know where they get it from, and if they're part of the New World Order. I don't know. I just don't trust
the testing, the person who created the tests died. And he was saying that these tests, they're not meant for COVID. They're not testing for COVID-19. They're testing just for tissue, RNA tissue of corona. And most of us have that from the vaccines in the past because they cultivate vaccines in animal tissue. And so when that gets transferred into a vaccine, so does the coronavirus, so is the animal tissue. So and if they're only testing for common cold and animal tissue, they're not testing for COVID-19, then my God, everyone's going to test up positive.
That's why I think I'm afraid to even say this on air, but please look into getting the flu shot because I don't think you should just go blindly because your doctor says to get the flu shot, especially this year because you don't know what it's going to do with all this craziness that's happening.
I'll tell you point blank, don't do it. You're eventually going to die from it.
By the way, remember the scare tactic when we first found out about the Wuhan disease when people were dropping dead in the streets? Did you notice that they all had masks on?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I think it incubates it just like the ventilator.
Well, you need oxygen. One of the things that you need oxygen.
You need germs. We need to touch each other. So, Trelane, how do you say her name? Trelane said, radiation poisoning. I wouldn't be surprised at anything. Billy Armo says, I want a wee mask for my pet back because I'm pretty sure he's got COVID. Susan said, tainted tests kits from China. Mark said, under the age of 12, they don't have to wear a mask in Australia. I think that's great.
Okay, but I see parents walking around with stores with their 5-year-olds putting masks on, cute little masks on.
I see them with their 3-year-olds with little masks on.
I know. It's like,
Did you hear,
they're
by the way,
voluntarily doing this.
Okay, vet this out yourself. I just learned this from a girlfriend who said it to me yesterday. My new friend Shannon, actually. And her name's Shannon, that mom that I met.
No kidding.
It's so cool. I love her. But
the
she
mesh
told me,
mom.
The mesh mom.
Does she have mesh pants on? Was she like
mesh,
all the way down?
That would be cool. 90s. She had black eyeliner. No. But she said that 2 kids, again, I don't know the truth to this, vet it out, research it. 2 kids in China, they were at PE and they were forced to wear a mask and they died. PE, running with the masks on.
It's crazy. They're wearing masks in the gyms. I can't tell you how critical thinking's out the door. People in fear. You can't think straight. Your frontal lobe shuts down. It's a fact. And once you're in fear all the time, you're going to make dumb decisions, and dumb decisions leads to your death eventually. One way or another, you're going off the cliff. So stop being in fear. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah. Sean said, and this is a good point, he said, if there was such a pandemic, children would not be immune.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, come on. They had to create this pandemic. It's created. I mean, we're not experiencing a pandemic. This doesn't even meet the litmus test for a pandemic. Guys, this is the less than seasonal flu death rate. That's all that matters, a death rate.
Brett said germs build up the immune system. And then Susan said, and I want to know what she means by this. She said, it is initiation to the New World Order Kabbalah mask rules. Oh, about masks?
Yeah.
That's creepy. I was driving to Starbucks today, and I have like quite the imagination. And as I pulled up, I was so afraid to keep going forward because I thought I saw a guy with horns. It wasn't. It was just like a hanger or something up there. But I was like, I'm not going up there. And I just like paused. So scared. Anyway, it wasn't anything. And then Steven said, I made it. Good morning, Tim Ray and Shannon McVeigh. Good morning, Steven Smith.
So can you read a little about this Wuhan and the 5G link to viruses? Because we're going to talk about that later today.
All right. So Wuhan was one of the test sites chosen for China 5G rollout. 5G went live there on October 31st, 2019, almost exactly 2 months before the coronavirus outbreak began. But that kind of that is hypocritical to what you say about it starting over here in America, just so you know.
Why?
Because you say it started over here in America.
No, I didn't say started. I said it was created in a lab in North Carolina, most likely, and then transferred over to Wuhan. And by the way, I think George Soros owns the Wuhan lab out there, by the way, or part of it.
All right.
Is that true? Anybody verify that George Soros owns part of the lab?
You guys got to be careful also with what you hear because there's a lot of... I don't know if I trust the QAnons.
I don't. I think it's a psyop.
You guys be careful.
Anybody supporting Trump right now is under a psyop hypnosis, I believe.
Well, what do you think? I think we need Trump to be our president.
No, I don't. I think Trump is going to be, nothing's going to stop during the election. They're going to be going forward. As long as everyone's in compliance, they're going to Trump's going to turn on his totalitarian ways, and he's going to shut us down. He'll become president, I believe.
Trump is going off of fear, too. I did hear him say when he was speaking, by the way, oh my gosh, did you see him talking in the Whirlpool Center?
No.
The Whirlpool factory? He said 2 things that I didn't like. And because you know me, I vet everything out myself. He said, one, he's like, you guys might not see me for a while because there's a lot of rich people that are angry with me. He said that, speaking. What do you think that means?
Well,
he's like, they're angry and they don't like what I'm about to do. He said, no other president will do what I'm about to do. I thought that he's got some gall, man.
What is it?
I don't know what he's about to do.
Well,
I have no idea.
Okay,
also,
do we have that bombing of the bombing video happened in Beirut? This tactical nuclear weapon that went off. They said it was a secondary bomb. Come on. Give me a break. Who do you think's behind that? I mean, it was a nuclear release bomb.
Wait, let me finish.
Good.
Also, Dang it, Tim.
No, also, you saw Trump said this. He said, because I want to hear what you had to say.
Somebody give me natural things for ADD.
Hey, so Trump said that he was.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
He said, and this is what I didn't like. He wants us to operate off of fear, too, because he did make a comment saying, if he doesn't become president, that we're going to be a poor country like Venezuela. He's like, look at Venezuela. They were once a rich country. He's like, if you guys have Biden in office. And I kind of agree with that, though, because I'm afraid of what the far left will do if we have a Democrat president.
I'll tell you what either party is going to do. They're going to take away our rights. One's going to go a little bit quicker than the other, but the end game is going to be they're going to create a totalitarian environment where we're going to lose all our rights, lose our constitutional rights, and we're going to be going into the New World Order a little bit sooner than later. Unless we fight back,
All right, we have some comments that are really good. Marley, new listener, welcome to our program, said, do we really know what this so-called virus is? It is more like a contagion. They're hiding so much from us.
Oh,
guys, they blatantly lied to you about the masks, and then they went back on the masks, and now they're going back again on the masks. You can't believe them. Come on. Yeah. David Leese, new listener, says 5G poisoning. Corwin says Trump is human garbage. Traylene said, that bull, you're right. Brett said he sent you the videos. Sean said, what if the chips have a minute dust of thallium? What's that?
I don't know.
And the chip is designed to crack from 5G waves.
Well, actually, there's the trigger. We had Mark Steele on Frequency Wars, and he talked about that the kill grid is the 5G triggering the vaccines that are inside the body that are being put in, triggering them for these proteins to be released and moving forward. And that's what you say is happening. And Shannon, so let me go back and ask you a question about the Trump, what you're saying, because this is the first time I'm hearing you being scared about Trump.
I know, because I just didn't like his fear tactic in it. Like he's saying, if you don't vote for me, we're going to be a poor country. Because America, I'm proud of America. I love what our fathers started America for. I believe in all that, and I believe that we can come together, but we're just letting us get bullied by the rest of the world and by the politics. And I also believe that there's a darker thing more than the politics, like the Luciferian agenda, the spiritual warfare, the bloodline. I think that there's something big happening.
When you get down, you start pulling the blanket off and you start seeing what's underneath there. It's scary, guys. I'm telling you. And you're going to find out all roads will lead from vaccines to 5G to glyphosate. It's all going to lead back to some spiritual warfare going on with good versus evil or Satan versus good, whatever it may be. And it's scary when wow, because I was brought up in a secular mindset, metaphysical mindset, and not that I'm not saying that there's entities or energies that are perhaps aliens versus angels, right, or whatever it may be. But nevertheless, I believe that there's energy outside of our frequency of this three-dimensional world, right? But if that is to be true, that this is a really spiritual war going on, and we were being played, like even the Bible, right, says that there's false prophets, right?
Right, of
Why
course.
would Trump not be a false prophet? If he's pushing a Kushner, right, his son-in-law,
there's this
guy. He lives at 666, whatever, Mockingbird Lane, whatever it is, he lives in New York. And, he's moving forward this New World agenda through his contacts in Israel and all these other countries. Why not? Why not look at this as a spiritual warfare? If this is what's going on, my God, we got to look at this.
Yeah, so are you saying Trump is the Antichrist?
No, I don't think Trump is. Who knows? But
I think that Trump is the only president. I think that with him being president, he has so much ego to go against politics. He's not even listening to his people. He's like, no, I'm going to stand for what's right. To some level, he's doing the best that he can, I think, in the power that he is. Look at what he's doing.
Well, I think it's a good cop, bad cop routine. I think we're being played, guys. I think we're played by suckers now.
Right now, guys, I think that we need to vote for Trump. Dare I say it?
Well, Shannon, I think you mean naive. All right, so
you're going to vote for Biden?
No, I'm not voting for Biden. But listen, guys, Biden's straight up communism, all right? And they put Biden in place because they know most people are going to vote for Trump, right? So Trump's going to have a landslide. But I'm telling you, we're walking right into the trap. It's a trap!
Biden was riding his bike with a group of people. None of them had masks on, but Biden had a mask on. I'm like, you're so dumb. You don't need a mask, buddy. Please take that off. You're going to die.
Trust me, he doesn't wear a mask when he's grooming his little kids.
Voting for Trump. Brett says, no, Shannon is right. Ha.
All right. So Trolene says, I believe China's out for us, communist China. Listen, they're using communism as a tool.
Stop wearing the masks sent from China. What are you guys doing? Go ahead.
Well, communism is a tool. It's not they believe in it like it's the commune. It's a tool they're using for the fascism, for the New World Order guys, the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers, to come in and control everybody in the world. And that's what they're using. They're using it as a tool. They don't believe in it. Like Clinton doesn't believe in it. All these folks don't believe in it. It's just a satanic tool to control people. That's all it is. These same players who are pushing it right now, the George Soroses, the Bill Gates, all these folks, all media, all the governors, Republican and Democrat alike, going along with this communist takeover, is all for control of the real fascist life that we'll be going to shortly.
All right, let's read some of these comments. Billy Armo said, this is no pandemic, 100% scamdemic. They force us to wear masks as the first stage of control to see how many people are subservient. This is stage 1 of the end of freedom. 95% of the world's population gone before 2030. Wow. Charlene says, what about all these criminals on the streets? If kids can go back to school, then criminals can go back to the pen.
No,
Susan said Q is a psyop.
I think it is.
And she also said Chip is using lithium battery. They leak and get you radiated from the inside out.
Wow.
McPatty said,
I love all
Wuhan,
these conspirators. My fellow conspirators,
or
unite!
Maybe not, or maybe it's not conspiracy. Maybe it's truth in everybody else's
It is
conspiracy.
truth. It's only conspiracy until you realize it's true. And then it becomes fact, right?
McPatty said, Wuhan man-made virus to infect us. Nice job. Marley said, look at the recovered COVID victims. Really weird side effects. That's true. I wonder what the truth is with that. Susan said, in the Bible talks about sores, radiation from 5G. Susan said, Luciferians are ruling, but not much longer. Trulin said, I believe China is out for us, communist China. There's so many comments. Okay.
So, Shannon, let me ask you a couple questions.
Wait, one more thing. Billy Armo said, this is World War III, just fought in a different way, psychological war.
Yeah, that's going on. Okay, so you go on and on for that. So a couple of, we'll do emails here in a minute. But a couple of things, I want to ask you a couple of questions.
Okay, I love answering questions.
All right, so here it is. You're hearing all these different conspiracies.
Yeah.
You don't think this is information overload too?
Of course I do.
All right, so what do you believe?
You're gonna. Well, I believe.
I mean, it's hard to believe all this.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing.
Especially if you're watching mainstream media every day, you must be really confused.
I come from mainstream media, people.
I know.
It's in my bloodline is mainstream media. I am a sheep. 100%. You can pressure me into anything. So I'm very confused with everything. I do think that once I started uncovering truths and doing my own research instead of just what people say to me, I'm just seeing a lot more. So I mean, I think that this is way more than we understand.
Yeah,
I believe what I said I believe.
Every
I believe
day
that
I learn something new.
Spiritually warfare.
Yeah.
I believe that this is Luciferian agenda. I believe that there's a bloodline. I believe there is a new world order. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I do. Wow. I know.
Hey, write this down, Ashley, would you? All right? Shannon says she believes there's a new world order. All right?
Agate said, Lucifer can only try love, have more power.
All right, let's read some emails.
All right,
let's shake it up a little bit. Shake it up because we have a great guest coming in.
Playing games, by the way. Why aren't we playing games anymore?
Because Tom Barrett's coming in about 7-8 minutes here, guys.
And what
calling
is he
in
not?
All the way from I think it's Australia or New Zealand. I don't know. Australia.
Trillin says, I'm so confused over the vaccine.
Yeah. Well, listen, if you're confused,
probably don't get it yet.
Error to not taking it until you see what happens with everybody else.
Yeah, exactly.
The majority of people can be taking it, so don't worry. There'll be plenty
is the thing.
sheep to be able to take it to see the experiment with.
If you guys don't know this already, which I'm sure most of you do, Bill Gates just has money. That's it.
Oh, he's
not a scientist.
He's going to make billions over these vaccines. All right.
He created software to have a virus so he would create.
Shannon to Bill Gates. Look at you go.
And this. Did you know this? In my research that I'm doing. Oh, my God.
Who is she?
Where's
she come from?
You're so ridiculous. Stop condescending me,
I'm sorry, but
you're so condescending. There was a man that was arrested on the Bill Gates grounds for porn. Did you hear this? Child pornography. In 2014.
You don't think Bill Gates comes from a satanic family?
Well,
you don't think he's involved in the porn?
That goes to prove that he's all part of the cabal, the eating children. I know I sound crazy. I sound absolutely crazy, but we know that they're raping children. There's all these pedophile rings. There's all these elites. We know this. It's now
look at Prince.
to
Look
our
at Prince.
knowledge.
Prince, what's his name from England? What's his name?
Prince Andrew, the royal
him and
family.
Epstein. Him and Epstein. The good
Look
buddies.
at all of it. Look at them. They see you have a picture of Kevin Spacey and Ghislaine Maxwell on the royal family's freaking throne. You know that it's all part of it. They're all in cahoots with each other. So if that's the case, there's got to be some sort of a group, guys. Right. The Bohemian
Grove. Shannon's just like right now. Alex Jones would be so proud of her. All right.
Alex Jones, though, I'm disappointed in him for selling out.
Alex Jones controlled opposition too. He's a side, in my opinion.
That's why, you know what? Who will never be sold out? Me and Tim Ray of The Wake in Atlanta. Amen. You can come in here and tell us
damn straight.
Unless you offer us a lot of money. Just kidding.
You're waiting for those Rothschild dollars to come by. Guys, listen, everything we said really is not true. Listen to the Rothschilds.
Yeah.
Wait for their money to roll in.
Yeah, right? If we say that, it's because our lives our children's lives are in danger.
No lives are in danger ever because there's no death, guys. Remember that.
There's this meme going around, and I'm just interested, and then I'll go to the emails. What would you say? It said, if somebody, say you're kidnapped, you've been kidnapped, and you have to keep posting on social media so people don't think that you're dead or kidnapped, what would you say so people know that you're kidnapped? Would you say take a vaccine?
Yeah.
And then people will know something's not right.
Vaccines are good for you.
Yeah. All right, guys. Here we go. Email. Please tell me if you think I'm overreacting. My husband will always mention if he finds a woman hot. For example, Megan Fox or Jessica Love Hewitt. I think it's Jennifer Love Hewitt, honey. Doesn't matter if it's a celebrity or a woman walking by us on the street. If he finds them to be attractive, he will mention it. This makes me feel super self-conscious. I go out of my way to ask, well, am I hot? Of course he says yes, but he doesn't point it out that another woman's attractiveness every time there is a pretty girl. Am I wrong for this? That's bull.
Okay, hold on.
What an a-hole husband.
Hey, hold on, Shannon.
No, F you, husband.
Shannon.
Who do you think you are?
Shannon.
No, do you know that woman probably gave birth to your child?
Shannon.
I am so over. I hate men.
Okay, Shannon, but seriously,
Yeah.
the guy.
Overreacting?
Okay, he acknowledged these beautiful women, right?
Ugh,
So
every time?
Okay.
Come on.
Is he saying every time? Maybe.
Yes, she is.
Okay, but is there something to why he's acknowledging them? Can we look into that first of all? Is it because his brain's trained to acknowledge that level of beauty?
I think it's so rude. No. You don't say that to your wife.
You'd rather him not look around and without you looking?
I'd rather him look at me
or
and only me.
Go watch some porn?
No, I'd rather him only look at me.
Say anything to you about it?
No. Why is this so unattainable? What is wrong with us women that we've allowed men to get away with this for so damn long and we don't hold ourselves to a higher standards? Guess what? We deserve more. We deserve our men to not watch porn. We deserve our men to just want us. What the hell's wrong with that?
Okay, Shannon.
It's men like you and like this that sets the stage so low.
I am not setting the stage. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, okay, have you been married? I've been married before, right?
Right.
You're married for a long time, decades. You don't think that lust slows down if sometimes leaves, you know? You don't think that happens?
If you're constantly growing on how you are and who you want to become as a human being, you are not going to want that because you're going to realize, oh my gosh, there might be a little dust on the bottle. But don't let them fool you about what's inside.
Just blow it off.
Do you know that song, that country song? No, seriously. You age, it's beauty. Age, okay, you know what? My gray hair, I kind of am learning to love. My wrinkles, I'm learning to love because I'm surviving and people should respect me and love me, especially my husband.
With wrinkles and gray hair.
Yes, because I am beauty and wine. And you know what? I used to be one of these girls that thought it was okay. Okay, well, if your husband or your boyfriend has to watch porn every once in a while, so be it. But you know what? No. I felt conviction for that because I realized that's my insecurity, that I'm not holding myself higher. And we need to. I am worth more than that, and so is this woman.
Okay, but you just can't. Listen, a lot of people don't take care of themselves, right? Guys and girls. You just can't say that, listen, you're going to love me, be attracted to me, and feel sexy towards me all the time without it there being realness there. You know, you can't fake it all the time.
She's taking care of herself.
You sure?
That's awful.
How do you know?
Okay, do you think I've let myself go?
You want me to say this on air?
Yes. All right. Well, I don't think that I have.
I don't think you have. Shannon, you are beautiful.
I still want to look beautiful.
You are
I still want to dress.
You dress well.
I still want to be,
for the most part.
I give. All right. So Marley said men can't help themselves. See, that's bull. Well, that's because we raised them. Boys,
you know, that's kind of true.
Boys will be boys.
It's kind of true.
Raise your sons to be better husbands. Raise them right. Boys will be boys. That's bull crap. I'm so over it. That creates
Shannon
Peter Pan.
is on fire. What did you guys feed her? Honestly, what did you give her? You give her.
All right. So Dave said, my wife will point out a hot woman to me on occasion. So that opens up the door. Yeah, I'll do that too.
Do you not check guys out?
Yeah.
Oh!
Yes, I do. But I don't say it. I don't say it.
don't say it. So don't you think that's worse? Wouldn't you respect the man saying that, how he feels in front of you, rather than you just check out, look at that package?
No,
you know?
Men are disgusting and they oogle, and also they act on it. They're like, oh, I just fell on top of her inside her. Oh, I accidentally just grazed her breast. Oh, come on. Women are not like that. We're
don't
perfect.
do that. Not
Women, you're perfect out there.
Right.
Men need to fall
All
in
right,
line with
this
what you
argument's
want.
not going to go anywhere. We got to wrap it up. We have a great guest,
Wrap it
Tom
up like
Barnett.
a condom.
Tom Barnett coming in, holistic health practitioner, getting into viruses are not what we think they are.
He's going to teach us.
Is that true? Come on. I have so many questions. Don't go to it, guys.
Can't we talk about COVID with this guy?
It's getting hot. We'll be right back. Payment cards and digital wallets were catching on before the spread of COVID-19. But the shift has accelerated now that we are months into the full effects of this virus. Back in March, the WHO suggested that people should use cashless transactions as the virus may be spread through contaminated dollars and coins. Remember? They subsequently said that they were misquoted, but the idea caught on and people began avoiding using cash. The use of these contactless cards and mobile apps and wallets exploded for fear of contracting the virus through cash, while even more stores opted to go cashless, right? Widespread lockdowns and contactless shopping gave an e-commerce a boost, and digital transactions increased even more. According to Venmo CEO Dan Schulman, the growth of new customers setting up accounts each day is basically doubling from even before the coronavirus became a global pandemic. Are we on our way to a cashless society? And was this the plan all along? So, is the move to a cashless society just an inevitable process in a more tech-savvy society? Or is it a plan to have a more control and surveillance over our every move, including what are we purchasing? So as we know, all electronic payments can be tracked and traced, so our every purchase and payments are known by the government. Along with contact tracing and increased surveillance, it sounds like we are well on our way in Agenda 2130's plan for complete control over the global citizen with a universal banking system. Agenda 2130 brings with it a one world central bank with a universal global currency. Seems like the recent coin shortage and the increase in electronic payments are moving us faster and faster along this path until we are all under this one world order. The end of this cash may be very well mean the end of our independence as the deep state creates a global cashless system. Come on, which is the ultimate globalist endgame, isn't it? Can you imagine a stranger not liking what you say and deleting any credits you have built up in participating in society, eating, drinking, getting food, buying things? Think about that for a minute. On our next Frequency Wars on August 12th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, only on uimedianetwork.org, we welcome G. Edward Griffin, the founder of Freedom Force International and author of The Creature from Jekyll Island, who has spoken out about the global cashless society for decades. He is also joined by international journalist, the New American magazine, Alex Newman, as they discuss Agenda 2130's plan in moving us towards a cashless society and a universally controlled international bank and monetary system. What's coming next? And what can we do to stop it? Find out this dire information before it's too late. You need to know.
It's the perfect hour, and the stars are aligned. These conscious superstars are here to brighten your day. Listen to their stories as they connect, motivate, and build you from the bottom up. It's inspiration time with our awakened stars.
Good morning. Welcome to Awaken Atlanta. Shannon McVay, Tim Ray. We are talking all about viruses this morning, and we have a holistic health practitioner, Tom Barnett, joining us all the way from Australia. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys. How are we?
Hey, listen.
Thanks for being part of our show.
Yeah, what time is it there? So I know when I travel, move out to Australia.
For all the women.
Yeah.
With the accents.
It's 9:30 at night, and there's plenty of beautiful women in our country.
Oh.
Yes. So you don't need to come to America.
Well, hopefully not. Hopefully they'll stay in there. Hopefully they're staying in America. Shannon wants you in America. Hopefully they're staying there with all these lockdowns going on with Melbourne and all this craziness. So we have a video we're going to show you guys later on during Good News how scary it is getting out in Australia. It's getting just bad, and it's coming our way too as well.
Which I can't wait to hear your thoughts on COVID. But go ahead.
All right, so. Tom, you had your video taken off of YouTube because you talked about the virus perhaps not being what actually is a virus. So why don't you start from just the basic, how we read the virus earlier about the WebMD, what they say it is. And I'm just going to read this real quick to you. So just
droplets, aerosols, airborne transmission.
Various submicroscopic agents that infect living organisms, often causing disease, and they consist of single or double strands of RNA or DNA surrounded by a protein coat. Unable to replicate without a host, viruses are typically not considered living organisms. Are they wrong or are they right?
They're mostly right, yeah. I mean, they're usually surrounded by a lipid layer, so it's a fat layer. But they, it's essentially just it's a protein surrounded by fat, to put it simply. And so it's not a living organism. So this idea that we can catch these things and that they live and that they're opportunistic and they infect us is a little bit just against what you learn pretty much in 5th grade science at school.
Huh.
Okay.
All right. So with that being said,
can we get into COVID? Because that's what I'm really curious about. If that's being said, is COVID a virus?
Step by step at a tier. Let's not just run to the point.
Don't ram it in, Shannon.
Come on.
They did it again.
I know.
All right.
So with this virus, you're saying that, like, for example, my understanding is the cells gets corrupted and it seeps out the toxins that are inside this corrupted cell. And that toxins that are seeped outside of the cell membrane becomes the virus. That's the excretions. That's the virus. Is that correct?
Well, that's the evidence of. So the virus is produced from within a cell to help excrete from inside of the cell anything that needs to break down, whether that's actual degradation within the cell that it needs to move on, or if it's a toxic substance within the cell. So that's what the virus is there for, is to provide that activity. And a lot of people refer to it as a solvent or a soap. It's just something that cleans the inside of a cell. And then, like you said, it just moves that to the outside of the cell. So
can you catch viruses from one another?
No, they're made from within a cell. The idea that it's contagious is just one of those germ theories that was peddled by Pasteur.
Okay, but our doctors are all our top doctors are saying they're saying it is contagious. Like, for example, have they misdiagnosed measles and herpes and chickenpox? Are they not viruses?
They have a high bacterial component, yeah, but they're also not contagious anyway. So when you say the top doctors say that, you're talking about the doctors that are, the ones that are well paid, and if they say things that go against the grain, they're not so well paid.
Okay,
wait a second. My brain, you can't. So you're saying that you don't spread herpes. You just brought up herpes. Then what? So STDs aren't spread?
Well, some are if they've got a bacterial or a fungal element. But if you imagine that, just from a common sense point of view, if we could spread herpes, right? Wouldn't everybody on the planet have it unless you're celibate or a eunuch or something like that? Like, if it was that contagious, wouldn't we all have that?
Well, it's like the number one STD. Everybody gets it. If you sleep with someone with herpes, you're going to get herpes.
Well, actually,
right? I mean,
you have to touch it. You have to touch it. Yeah, that's where you're saying maybe more bacterial.
My mind is blown.
So this is interesting. So some viruses have a higher element of bacterial with it, not just a virus. So how do you distinguish between a bacterial and a virus then?
Well, bacteria are living organisms. Viruses aren't. What happens is every microorganism, they all have a role to play. They're all considered when you look at the terrain version of how we're made up and what inhabits us. They're there just to either clean out what we have inside of us or to help us break down what our body is unable to break down by itself. So that's the role of parasites, bacteria, fungus. And then we have the non-living version, which is the virus. And the virus is kind of like the king of the hill. So if a fungus, a bacteria, or a parasite can't break down, or it gets killed by the toxicity of what it is breaking down, then the body will create a virus as a solvent to then clean out what the living organisms couldn't do. So you cannot transfer that from one person to another. It is only that you can transfer bacterial elements or fungal, but you cannot transfer a virus to another person.
Okay,
so what about COVID?
Well, that's a good question, Shannon.
Yes.
With COVID, so what you're looking at is if there is a viral element, and there is not a lot of evidence to suggest that we are looking at a virus that is infecting people. We are seeing some people fall ill, but these people either had pre-existing health conditions, and the testing that says that it is a virus is, by the nature of the guy who invented the tests, says that they're not even really accurate or should be used at all.
And he's gone. He died.
Exactly.
Okay, so Tom, we had Del Bictor had Dr. Kaufman on. I think his last name is Kaufman. And we have a little clip, Ashley. Just I want to play for Tom just to have him. He's basically saying, because it's interesting that you're saying it may not be a virus, because he's saying that we never vetted out that COVID-19 is a virus, how we normally vet out viruses. So let's play this clip and let's get Tom's take on this, because this I find. You talk about the biggest of conspiracies of all conspiracies, if this is true, that COVID-19 is not even a virus, then I want to talk about what it can be, and then we'll go forward from there. Go ahead, play the video.
Right. That we have been questioning the mainstream narrative from the beginning because it just doesn't add up. But you are actually taking this, I think, a step further than the high wire has ever really gone before on this topic, because up until now, we are using the idea that this is a virus that has swept the nation. Maybe it was here earlier than we thought. The numbers aren't what we seem, but there does seem to be some dangers when it gets into nursing homes, all of those things. You are actually questioning whether or not COVID-19 exists at all. Am I correct about that? Or please clarify your position.
Yeah, thank you. That's pretty close. So I just want to separate the SARS-CoV-2 virus, which is what they've named, what they call as a virus, and COVID-19 being the illness. Okay. So I actually reject both hypotheses, but I don't want to come across as saying that I deny that there were people dying during this mortality spike from late March until May. I just have different explanation for what resulted in those deaths. But what I've done from the beginning, once I noticed that there was some fishy things going on in the policies of how they were handling this pandemic, because it was divergent from any past policies that I'd ever been familiar with, I went and looked at the papers that had claimed to isolate this virus, and there are essentially 4 papers. And when I read these, I read them very closely, and I had to, do some investigation, because they use kind of a lot of language that's difficult to understand unless you're publishing in this field. So it took me a bit to parse out exactly what they did, but what I found out is that they never isolated or purified a virus. So what I mean is, in order to identify a virus, it's basically a particle.
Oh, and it goes on and on how he explains, Tom, how they never really vetted out that this is a virus, how they normally done in all viruses in the past. But COVID-19, they never did that test like they've done. Why would they not have done that? And how does this play into what you're saying?
Well, yeah. So what you got to look at is essentially you've always got to take a step back and then have a look at what's happened, and then what the potential ramifications of what's happening could be. For example, the number of deaths worldwide are not even approaching what an influenza would get us in a typical year. Yet they are locking down most of the world. They are trying to take away rights and freedom. So it's a very obvious play that they kind of screwed up, because they didn't even with conflating and inflating the numbers of deaths, they still haven't really given us a good enough reason to do anything that they're currently doing. Right. So the fact that they never actually isolated a virus, it's for people like us that are thinking, it's kind of, that's a red flag. But for the majority of people in the world, it seems, if you can give the people the idea of some fear, then they will not think rationally. So they are taking this idea that there is an infectious virus, and that they are playing into the story as if that is real, despite the fact that the evidence all around them suggests otherwise.
Wow.
So, okay, so if it's not a virus, because you're saying the only way to get a virus is through getting injected into your bloodstream. Now, people who do get other so-called viruses like herpes and chickenpox, there's a bacterial component to them that makes it transferable outside of the bloodstream. However, with that being said, what is the COVID-19 if it's not a virus and it's never been vetted out to be? So it's a bacterial? Because it's something. Is it nothing? Is it just a common cold? What is it?
I think it's nothing, but I think what you're looking at is just to quickly go over the reasons why you get a cold or a flu. It's due to a buildup of toxicity that over time your body is processing or breaking down. The cold or the flu is the end result. So you could have been breaking something down for 3 years. The end result is when you get snotty and you get your cold or the flu. That's not the detoxification. That's the end result of a long-term detoxification. So when we have this going on in the body, it's as a result or a response to a stimulus. So that stimulus could be just your unhealthy lifestyle, or even you improving the health of your lifestyle, which can result in that. And you can get that on a tropical island in the middle of nowhere with nobody around you. When you see a cluster of these things happening, it's either a climatic or environmental response to changes in the weather or the environment. But most commonly, it is a response to stimulus that is a toxin to the body, that being air pollution with metal particulates in the air, or something to do with radiation, which causes trauma in the cells,
5G.
which gives rise to a viral process, because that is what is required by the body to clean out or fix up or help to remove what is currently affecting or infecting the body.
So do you think that 5G is hand in hand with coronavirus or COVID, and that's kind of why everybody is getting sick because of 5G? Can you explain that?
Yeah, well, there are certain... Go ahead.
Well, no, that's fine. We have another guest going to be talking specifically about that, but I want to hear your perspective with reference to what she just said.
He derails every... I swear to God, you're not the first. Every question I ask,
I know,
for
Shannon.
every guest,
I'm just trying to stay with the program. Stay with the program.
That's a good question.
It was a good question.
I'll give you the quick version then. Yeah. So basically, you're looking at some clusters where people actually are getting sick, and 5G will have... It is not hidden. The people that put this out do not hide it. The information, if you want it, is there to find. It's not their responsibility to come out and tell everybody and wave a flag and say, look, we put 5G here, and look, people are getting sick here. But if you look at the statistics and you overlay the maps of the clusters where people are sick and where they just recently put in 5G, or they sprayed chaff or whatever else in the sky, that's where you're seeing the clusters of people getting sick. Plus the fact that the people that actually die are the weak and vulnerable. It's not just going to get, if us three were in those places, I guarantee we wouldn't even get a cold. It just affects the people who are very vulnerable and already very, very weak. Plus they inflate the numbers by putting normal deaths down as COVID deaths, and it is well known now that they are bribing people to allow their death certificates, or the families in our country, they're getting free funerals. The government says, we'll pay for your funeral if you say that we can put that down as a COVID death. And in your country, they're paying people $30,000-ish to be put on a respirator, and $16,000-ish to be classed as a COVID death. So there's a lot of monetary incentive for these, and the numbers still aren't that high, despite the fact that they are inflating the numbers artificially.
Okay, so
it's 0.0 or 0.006 or something like that.
0.026. So, let me recap what you're saying so everyone understands. So, this
layman's terms.
Well, this virus, what you're saying, Tom, is caused from outside toxins, most likely, and people who are more immune or are more immune compromised, who have to take care of themselves, or they have some immunity issue, whatever whatever reasons, are more likely that this outside toxin will affect their body more so, which releases the over a period of time, and then finally, when these excretions from your cells, the virus, let's say, excretions, and they come out, and it's manifested in snot, manifested in coughing, manifested in your body expelling these toxins, that that is coming from an outside source that's corrupting your individual cells, right? So it's not this bacterial contagious virus that it's connecting to people. It's an outside, and when it happens in a certain area, like for example, how do we explain the seasonal flu then every year from SARS, H1N1? How do we explain that it kind of gets a herd immunity, goes through everywhere, and then affects everybody? So, and it seems to go in waves. You know what I mean? Like California, then to Texas, wherever you're from. How do you explain that fact?
Well, it depends on how you're looking at numbers too. Like waves are kind of, when you talk about waves, you're really just looking at who is providing statistics and from where. But every single year, you're pretty much looking at the exact same amount of people that get a flu each year. You also got to consider that you look at really healthy people, they don't get the flu. So you're looking at the statistics and the demographic that is measured on the weak and the very sick people who are always going into doctor surgeries and hospitals. No, like if I get a cold, I'm not calling up the hospital or the government saying, hey, by the way, I've got a cold, put me down. Nobody does that. So they're only measuring. Statistics are very easily skewed. It's not representative of the whole population. But to answer your question, to go back to why multiple people get it each year in a season, so to speak, well, that's just like last year, you had 500,000 people, 500 million people die of a flu. Year before that, same. Year before that, maybe a bit less. Year before that, maybe a bit more. But we all have a coronavirus in us. It's just a type of virus that we all have. Mm-hmm. We all have what else? Polio in us. We all have meningitis in us. We all have everything, because it's just the body creates around 320,000 different types of viruses. They're specific to cell tissue. So if something outside of us is assaulting the lungs, for example, we will produce a lung-related virus, which is then going to show itself as a lot of people coughing or something to that effect. However, again, it's not everybody. And then it's just a response to a climatic condition. So let's say you had a certain wind pattern that came through the eastern seaboard of the States, and that made its way through, and then it made its way to the center across to Texas or whatever. So you get California, the central states, you get Texas, maybe it gets over to Florida, something like that. But you're looking at a climatic response to a change in seasons, a change in weather, or what is that air carrying through, what particulates are in the air that a lot of people are being exposed to at one time. Again, though, it doesn't affect everybody. So that just rules out the contagion theory straight away, because not everybody, and proportionally, much less than half of the people in any place will get a flu. It never affects, and it's always the weak. As I say, it's just, there's too many variables that people just don't consider.
Okay, so this is fascinating. So people are not transmitting from each other. Like, I'm not giving Shannon the flu. Basically, we're having a similar environmental impact on our bodies from toxins outside that we're both experiencing. So I may get the flu from her, I may not, based on my immunity handling this outside toxin. So it's not that I'm giving her this virus, it's that we're in the same area of these toxins that either I'm going to get or not get it based on my immunity.
Yeah, it's not immunity, though. Immunity is to do with your white blood cells and your ability to fight off pathogens. It's just, it's literally just a level of toxicity and a cleaning out from the inside. So, for example, if you're getting healthier in your body and your mind, you might go through a flu just because it's time to clean out. But that might be also a response to a change in weather. So we speak to the environment, and the environment speaks to us all the time. Just because we've been taken away from our roots as, native cultures are very in touch with nature. We still are. It's just a bit dumbed down and muted. But our body still recognizes, without us thinking about anything, when it's a good time and when it's safe and it's a right time to undergo an internal clean out. The same way seeds know when to sprout or germinate, the same way bears know when to go into hibernation or birds know when to flock to a different part of the country. That's just an inbuilt response to nature based on environmental and climatic signals and conditions.
So when it gets colder, you're more likely to detox.
Can do, yeah.
Like seasonal flu, the flu season, right? All right, go ahead, Shannon.
Okay. Yeah. So I want to go back to COVID for just 2 minutes. If you do have COVID, the people out there that have COVID and you're hearing all these things like hydroxychloroquine, whatever, however you say it, can save you, what are your thoughts on that? And do you think that there is anything we even need to get into this? Or do you think that you just need to meditate and get your emotions right to get over it?
Yeah, well, the thing about, so to answer that, Shannon, in a broad sense, there's a lot of people that have spent decades doing a disservice to their body. And what they're experiencing today is just a result of all of that time they've spent doing that. So you can kind of say, what can I do, or what pill can I take, or what thing can I take that'll immediately reverse 30 years of what I've been doing? It doesn't really exist. Hydroxychloroquine has been shown to reduce the effects of radiation poisoning and viral conditions. But again, what you're doing what you're doing is you're essentially just minimizing the effects of the symptoms, but you're not taking away the reason that was there in the first place. So It's just this thing that we reap what we sow. And if we've lived a certain way, we've just got to live with what we've created.
It seems like we're in the perfect setup right now. I mean, a Wuhan setup, because they turned on 5G on October 31st. They probably were injecting people with whatever this bacterial bioweapon or COVID-19 whatever they want to call it. And the radiation activated this virus, if you want to call it that, right? The coronavirus. And people started literally dropping in Wuhan. So now as we're rolling out 5G, if 5G is the environmental factor, if radiation is the environmental factor causing these issues, because we talked about earlier in the program how, throughout the last century, radio came in, waves, radar, and we've been amping up our EMFs and our radiation, then G1, 2, 3, 4, how these flu outbreaks, there's these outbreaks, right, at these periods of time. So that could make sense to you then.
Yeah, it can, for sure. There's a lot more to it, though. I think the way that these people that kind of design these systems play it out is that there's always a multitude of things, so that when somebody just tries to nail this one thing and then everybody jumps on the 5G bandwagon, they switch it off, for example, and people are still getting sick. So they always have these backup plans. I think, it's only a theory, but I would imagine that this current COVID, well, what they're waiting for, I think what they're waiting for is the real actual virus to start happening in people. And that will have been preloaded into the vaccines for the last couple of years. Everybody that's got a flu shot over the last 2, 3, maybe even 5, 6, 7 years will have had what they have created, because the virus, remember, is a mutated, it's a manufactured virus, essentially, that they create in labs. They preload that into the vaccines, and they've been injecting that into people for the last several years. So that will, along with the nanotechnology, have a response to various radio signals like 5G, plus whatever else they do that we don't know about. We know about 5G, but we don't necessarily know what else they have.
Yeah.
So that's part of it. But part of it is just the fact that people are getting scared, and people are going to say, well, I want to be protected. I want this COVID vaccine. And that is going to be loaded with the mother load, so to speak. That's when you're going to see actual deaths from viruses, because...
And it'll be blamed on COVID-19, and people will be wearing their masks thinking they're safe.
So on COVID and children, kids get flu shots all the time, and this isn't affecting kids. Do you foresee this happening to children that had the flu shot the last couple of years?
Who now are in school with 5G and buses with 5G?
Yeah, well, when they start getting herded into smart schools and smart cities and smart buses and all this that are all 5G enabled and controlled, that's when you'll start seeing that. But I think the vaccine will have a big part to play in that. So flu shots, I think, have set the scene, but I think it'll be the actual COVID vaccine that will be the one that'll do the most damage. And it sounds like a negative and bleak outlook, but at the same time, I guess I should just mention now that all of these things have a very physical effect, but we also have control over how our body resonates.
Epigenetics,
and our body
baby.
And it actually only resonates in concert with a stimulus. So if we resonate at a certain frequency, for example, the frequency of what comes into us, a vaccine, a 5G signal, whatever, can be mitigated depending on how we are. And if we're not fearful and stuck into a level that we're like resonating quite lowly, then if we can up our own frequencies, then all this stuff around us will have a much lesser effect.
It goes back to a spiritual thing of power of love, baby.
Always is your emotions. Gosh, our power of our thoughts, man.
Right, yeah.
So I have a bunch of people are asking you what your thoughts are on iodine drops.
Well, iodine just helps to boost thyroid and immune function. So if you're low in iodine and zinc and things, you will have a lowered immunity, essentially. That, as I said, doesn't have as much to do with your response to toxicity, but it still certainly helps to have a stronger body. I always prefer food sources. So you're looking at shellfish and oysters and some deep sea greens to get sources of iodine as opposed to drops. But if that's not an option for you, then having iodine in the form of a drop, if it's as natural as possible, is preferable to not having any.
So Tom, if all this to be true, and I want to give you a challenging question here because you're not a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
He is.
Well, he's a health practitioner. He's not a doctor. Which these days doesn't mean much, honestly, if you think about all these doctors out there giving advice. But that's not my point. My point is to you is...
Way to bring him in. Way to make a man feel good. All right.
My point to you is, as this as this is being rolled out, all these other so-called doctors, MDs, and so on down the line, one apparently got virus wrong. They misinterpreted the whole understanding the concept of the virus. I mean, we're talking about millions of doctors are not understanding what you just shared with everybody. I'm sure that a lot of integrative doctors are, but majority of them, I would feel safely, and if you agree, do not agree with what you're saying. So are you saying this is all strictly out of controlled ignorance?
Yeah, essentially. I mean, all these doctors were taught, and I studied medicine too, and I was taught this as well. But I lost my health, and I had to find answers that weren't coming from doctors. They weren't coming from natural doctors either. And then it was the choice of live or not live. And I'm like, well, I've got to really find answers. So when you're in a desperate situation, you start digging beyond what is just standardly put in front of your face, which can also lead to an income. You know, you do this, you practice this, you do that, you get a good house and a good car and a good life. So most people don't look beyond that until they lose all that. And then they start looking for different answers. And I will also say that some of the best doctors in the world are saying what I've been saying as well. It's nothing new. I didn't come up with it. I got it from the best doctors in the world.
Listen, Tom, we got to go to our good news segment, but do you have a minute to stay over with us for a little bit?
Sure.
And we're going to talk about some good news. I want to leave you on this bomb here. I don't know if you heard about it, but Brett just mentioned New Zealand just got locked down tonight.
Yeah, right.
So, guys, we get back. We're talking to Tom Barnett. New Zealand just got locked down, not locked down again. Tom Barnett, he's a holistic health practitioner, blowing our minds about how really viruses work and where they're coming from. So stay tuned. We're going to go into our good news and we get Tom's Aussie's perspective on what's going on here in America and around the world. So don't go anywhere. Share this now, guys. This information you will not get anywhere. Trust me. Get it out there now before you don't see it again. We'll be right back.
Well, the most troubling question I have this week revolves around a drug for malaria called chloroquine. That one of the top virologists in the world, a guy named Dr. Didier Raoult out of France, had already conducted studies in China as soon as this thing began and was having a 100% success rate recovering people who were suffering from COVID-19 with chloroquine. 100% success rate. Other studies all around the world are being done and are showing exactly that. But here's the point. Donald Trump, the President of the United States, gets very excited about the fact that all around the world, chloroquine is having real success. Now, yes, it's anecdotal. Fauci comes out and says, it's anecdotal. We don't have proof. We don't know that there's not some safety issue. Well, what safety issue would there be? You've been giving this like candy to millions and millions of people for the last 70 years. And now you're saying, whoa. Let's be careful. It's anecdotal that it works or that it's safe. Okay, fine. Do you know that of all the drugs last week being tested for COVID-19, being funded by the National Institute of Health that Fauci works for and the government of the United States, you know the only drug the NIH is not funding, Fauci will not fund a trial on? Chloroquine.
Wow.
But immediately you better start asking yourself, is that because he really thinks there's a danger to it? Or are there financial interests behind it? It's a generic drug. It's $6 a pill. No one's going to make any money. Does it cut into the amount of deaths? And is there a reason we would want deaths? I mean, these questions, I think, are reasonable questions when you watch a doctor, a scientist, telling us we have a life and death crisis that refuses to test the most tested product around the world and the one showing the most success. That's just where my questions begin this.
What's happening, world? It's time to dive into local and national news topics that are guaranteed to put a positive spin on your day. Join us as we discuss impactful headlines and local events designed to enrich your life. Enjoy your cruise with good news.
Welcome back to Awaken Atlanta, the #1 conscious morning show in the world.
#1. I'm Shannon McVeigh.
Yes, and I'm Tim Ray. And real quick here, before I want to mention real fast, We go to uimedianetwork.org, uimedianetwork.org. None of the shows are ever censored, and they're never taken off or banned like on Facebook and other venues. However, we have G. Edward Griffin coming on tomorrow on Frequency Wars. We'll be discussing the one world banking system, what's going on with the one world order and the money system, and why you can't have coins anymore, and what's that going to lead to. So the one and only G. Edward Griffin will be on tomorrow with Alex Newman.
Are you so excited?
I cannot sleep. He's been my hero for freaking decades. You know, I'm so excited about it.
Would you jump off a bridge if he said jump?
No, but I would jump to draw off the bridge to save him if he fell in like Clarence in His Wonderful Life.
Guys, we still have our guest.
Tom Barnett staying over with us from Australia. And he's going to deal with our good news. We're going to get your take, too, as well.
So before we get into it, we want to know what your thoughts are on this whole lockdown.
In New Zealand. The double lockdown.
Or Australia.
Well, New Zealand right now. I mean, I guess you guys don't like each other.
Talk to us.
You fight all the time. You throw stuff over the water, over the river, over the lake, over the ocean.
Over the pond.
Over the pond.
No, we actually like New Zealanders, and they generally like us too. But as far as the lockdown goes, I just found out from you guys telling me. But the funny thing is that a couple of days ago, I had some people trying to tell me that their Prime Minister, Jacinta, somebody or other, was doing a great job because New Zealand has no cases of COVID. So now I'm like, well, now 2 days later it's locked down. Why are they claiming to have no cases because their measures are working and now they're locking down the country? So what you're looking at is Australia and New Zealand are what are called beta testing grounds. They want whatever they want to implement for the rest of the world, they test on small populations in large land masses. So Melbourne and New Zealand, what you're going to see is that they'll be locking people down, and they will be under the cover of nobody watching. They'll be rolling out infrastructure for the social credit monitoring and 5G systems.
Wow.
So, Ashley, can you play the video with what's going on in Australia with the police and how they're breaking into the cars? You have that section light off for me? Okay,
I just think it's so crazy. Why are all these people in cahoots if they weren't part of a cabal or a greater thing? Do you believe in that?
It's impossible.
Do you think that, Tom?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, everybody's run by the IMF and essentially the Vatican, and you got a few other, the Rothschilds. They're all in bed together. It's this one kind of whole ugly system that runs everything, and every single government is under that regime. Every single government is a corporate entity, all owned and run by the IMF. So if you are a prime minister or a president of a country, you are essentially just a puppet to you're a corporate employee of these larger companies that own the countries. So then you're not going to do anything that's for the people, because they sold the people out when they created persons, which are corporate entities, and took the rights away from men and women, or except that we never actually lost those rights. We just forgot who we were. So if we refer to ourselves as men and women, we have rights.
It's amazing. Tom, we're going to play a video here of what's happening in your country right now as we speak, and we want to get your take on it. Go ahead, Ashley.
I just want to recap really briefly on what we're already doing, because we have a significant commitment. We have Operation Sentinel, which is every day 500 police officers out and about, tasking, checking populous places, knocking on doors, a whole range of things. We have Operation Sentinel 2, which is the vehicle checkpoints, 8 vehicle checkpoints right around the restricted area, those permanent ones where we're checking the access and egress right throughout the state. We have Operation Shielding, 160 transit police officers, transit protective services officers, I should say, and 80 police officers from transit who are out there every day, and they're making sure that there's public assurance, they're checking who should be in proper areas, and they're enforcing as you would expect them to be doing so. And from our perspective, though, the people, the vast majority who are doing the right thing, need to understand for those who aren't, there is a consequence. And there are consequences, and I want to be really clear on that. In the last week, we've seen a trend, an emergence, if you like, of groups of people, small groups, but nonetheless concerning groups who classify themselves as sovereign citizens, whatever that might mean, people who don't think the law applies to them. We've seen them at checkpoints, baiting police, not providing their name and address. On at least 3 or 4 occasions in the past week, we've had to smash the windows of people in cars and pull them out of there so they could provide their details, because they weren't telling us where they were going. They weren't adhering to the Chief Health Officer guidelines. They weren't providing their name and their address. We don't want to be doing that. But people have to absolutely understand.
Okay, Tom, you just heard what the police officers are doing, and he openly admitted, and he even said they're claiming themselves to be sovereign citizens. I don't know what that means. What's going on in Australia? This is a beta test. This sounds like Nazi Germany.
Yeah, so that's I did see that the other day, and this guy, like, if I had to put money on Shannon or this guy winning a fight, I put it on Shannon. This guy is just you've just got these people that are dweebs that are trying to tell people what to do, and they use the media, who are obviously in the same team as them, to kind of peddle their agenda. So what they're doing is when they get a little worried that people are starting to stand up, they start putting out these kind of stories. We've got 80 police here and 160 there. And I'm thinking, well, I've got 160 friends just that I could call at any minute. There's probably 1 million people you could rally together in the whole state. So they're kind of playing these psychological games where they're trying to make it sound intimidating, but when you know what they're saying, it's quite laughable.
But they are arresting people, are they not? They may not be able to enforce it or fine them, but they're taking you out of your normal routine. They're breaking your window. They're pulling you out of the car.
Yep. But what they're doing is they're trying to make an example. There are so many people that are successfully moving around inside of the state and not having that happen to them. So they need to make an example of the people who have a success and then share it with others. But the thing is that what they're neglecting to realize is how many people are starting to stand up to that these days. And every time they go against the actual law, which is what they're doing, they open themselves up to liabilities. And what you're going to see, even though they're gloating about breaking 3 or 4 people's windows, that's going to be lawsuits. They're going to get the cops that did it fired, and then it's going to go as a liability case against the state, and they're going to lose. So it's actually, they're setting themselves up for failure if people are willing to follow through on that. But they're really just trying to scare people and use it as an example so that they can show it to the rest of the world, and the rest of the world can, hopefully fall into line, is their agenda.
Talk about the agenda. I'm going to bring it home to America for a minute for my news. And I do want your take, because Tim always says presidents are selected, not elected. You basically said the same thing. So Trump, which if you guys were watching earlier, you might have heard this. He had a press conference at a Whirlpool factory. And he basically said 2 things. But, well, one, he's going against, because the Democrats and Republicans are fighting for the stimulus. You know this, right? Yeah. So they want the extra $600 because all these people are still out of jobs. So they were giving Americans an extra $600 on unemployment that they took away. Well, the Democrats want the $600. The Republicans are saying no. So what Trump did is said, no, listen, I'm going to kibosh this. I'm going to give, federally $300, and the states have to do $100. So 25%, right? He is pissing off people. People are still going back at him. What president would do that? He's saying no. And he signed the executive order. He's like, F the Democrats and the Republicans. This is crazy. People need money. You've got to give him some credit for that, right?
Well, I mean, you give your hand, the good cop, bad cop, the good cop.
That's what he keeps saying.
The good cop gives you the donut and the coffee while he sits you down and he moves you forward. Oh, thank you so much. You're so nice to me. While the bad cop, I mean, come on.
What are your thoughts on that? What other president would go about that way? I don't think they would. They want to make their peers happy. And he also said in this conference, he said, I have a lot of enemies. He said, many of them are very, very rich, and I might have to go away for a little while. You might not see me for a little while. What does that even mean?
It means that he's going to leave as a good cop, so you all think he's going to come back and save us as he moves us down the road to the New World Order. Go ahead.
What are your thoughts?
Go ahead.
Yeah, look, I actually don't follow American politics that close. I don't follow any politics closely, but I've heard I've heard 2 very convincing arguments. One, that Trump is actually the opposite to the current cabal that runs the world, and the other side says that he's just a big part of the deep state, and he's a big part of all of that.
It's like Tim and Shannon.
Yeah.
And yeah. But the thing is that as who we are, we'll never know. We're not privy to the information that you have to be part of secret societies like neck deep before you actually know really what's going on in the world. But if you just look at the clues, anytime a president says something that you might want to start practicing is not just listening to the words that they say, because they don't say things literally, they speak in code. So you want to look for anything that they're hinting at or coding, and then you'll hear what they're actually saying. The words they use, maybe any symbolism that's on the picture, because they're obviously on TV. So anything like that can give clues as to what they are actually saying. But the words they speak, if whatever he's said is if you take that literally, you're going to miss the message. He's saying something. I haven't heard it, so I don't know what he's saying, but he's saying something, but it's coded somewhat, and you'll have to kind of figure that out to find out.
It's like a big game. I feel like we're in like this sci-fi movie.
Well, think about it. If you want to keep the psyop going, you're going to want to say something like, hey guys, I'm still in the game. Remember, quote, just, wait it out as everyone's doubling down. The masks are doubling down. We're beta testing in Australia. Their 5G is being rolled out. Kids are going back to school. Kids are going to be getting sick now. This is a perfect setup, I see, Tom, the perfect setup to turn on the 5G in the different cities around the world. People start getting sick, then they never got sick before. The kids are getting sick in the school because 5G's rolled out in the buses and in there. And all of a sudden they're like, see, you didn't wear your mask right. You see, you didn't wear your goggles, and now everyone's dying. So now comes martial law. Trump comes in with the martial law, and he's the guy who's going to make everybody suffer the consequences. And all the conservative people who are supporting Trump are going to go right off the cliff with this new totalitarian world. I see it as clear as day.
Oh my gosh. Trillian says, always a hidden agenda. Heidi says, hashtag save the children. By the way, hashtag save the children is somehow banned. That's wild to me. That with all this pedophilia going on and all these people being found out in these rich politics and elites being found out, and now you can't say save the children? That's absolutely insane. Anyway.
It is kind of insane. And we have one more question for you. I know you got to get going here too, and we got to get to some other stuff as well. Another guest coming on. Oh, by the way, our other guest coming on, Liz Barris, she's going to be talking about the connection between the 5G and what's going on with people getting sick and what we have potentially look forward to. So hang in there, guys. She'll be on in about 15 minutes. So tell me, Tom, do you see a solution to any of these things? You were just saying about educating yourself and keeping a high immunity, but what about the overall? Do you feel like this is the machine is already in place? There's no stopping it at this point. What's your optimistic? What's your non-optimistic perspective?
Or are we all just gonna die?
Yeah, well, look, it's not a new thing. This has been put in place for a long time, like way longer than you would think. So it's been planned for a long, long time. It does seem like an unstoppable machine, but what the unstoppable machine is us. It's not these few people that are pulling the strings. It's all of us. And there are a lot of people who are just not awake enough. They're asleep at the wheel that are going to derail the thing for everybody. But that's only a potential. Everybody has the potential to reach a critical mass that just overturns it. All it has to do is for people to do is just stand up. And that's it. That literally is the only action needed. And it topples everything. They do not have enough numbers to fine, arrest, whatever. The whole population. They don't have enough police and military to even come close to doing that. So, and what you would hope is that these people that are in these current roles that may not know that they're working against us all, they'll snap out of it too. It's just a critical mass, and it's just enough people that want to say, no, I'm not having this. We're reclaiming our rights and our freedoms. And then that is what will tip things over in our favor.
So non-compliance could be a way of standing up.
Yeah, and non-compliance is just, I would call it non-consent, because there's a fine line there between not complying and essentially arguing and then falling into, it's a bit of a long story, but falling into dishonor in commerce, because we're essentially only governed by commerce. We're not governed by law and governments. So if you remain in honor, you're always in the right place. So just not consenting, it's a case law. It's called Cruden versus Neal, 1796. And that's case law that says that man is not bound by man-made laws without his consent. Man is only bound by nature's laws. So if we do not consent to man-made laws, then we're not bound by them. So it just means it's not necessarily not complying, it's just not consenting, which is a slightly different thing. It's a bit more powerful and less standoffish.
That only works if you have a bunch of people with you on that, because otherwise you go into the hanging deck, by yourself if nobody else is agreeing with that interpretation of the law. So it is a numbers game, isn't it?
It's a numbers game when you're not adept at it. If you really know your stuff, you can hold off an army as one guy. But if you're not adept in it, which is like most people are just kind of, I didn't know about any of this. For that, it requires numbers. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Tom. Thank you so much for being part of our show and also sharing your truth, which I feel like is the truth. Can you tell people where they can reach you?
Sure, yeah. You can reach me at info@globalbiodynamics.com. And I'm also going to start a private site because like you guys have, I get censored on social media all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So if people want to keep in touch, if you send an email to globalbiodynamics with an S on the end at gmail.com and just say, keep me in the loop, I'll send everyone out an email once a private site gets running, and then you guys can come out and check it out if you feel to.
Hey, on the
Wonderful.
Facebook feed, put that on there, tag it. If you guys haven't, you do it too, Tom. Hey, Tom, thanks for coming in, sharing this time and staying over with us. Great job. Keep up the great work. Whatever support you need from us here over in the States, as they say, we're here for you too as well. Thanks again.
Great. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. Guys, we're going to get some more good news here. We're not going to take a break.
Let's not even break. Yeah.
We're not going to break. And then we have, in 10 minutes, we have Liz Barris coming on, talking about the 5G connection in reference to what's going. He blew my mind with these viruses. I never really thought of it on that level.
That was encouraging, but it really is scary about the 5G. We really got to take remember that, because I don't. It's out of sight, out of mind. And do you think those things work about the 5G on the back of your phones? Because why don't we just all get those? Because if it's going to happen no matter what.
Okay, but the problem, like in Georgia, they're putting 5G mast towers right in front of our right-of-ways in our homes.
It's nuts,
and this is a kill grid. I mean, if they're looking at it. So as people are getting sick, you put a mask on, you think it's this boogeyman coronavirus, but it's actually, you already have it inside you, right, for the most part, most likely, but it's being activated, it's being triggered by the 5G mast in front of your home. So don't you have the right to defend yourself by taking that mask down?
Yeah.
Of course you do. You defend your life if you know what's happening. Because once you get away from the 5G, all your symptoms go away. And people have to know that.
Well, what do you think about this then? If it is related to 5G, the WHO now came out. It's a new study, and it's saying the coronavirus mortality rate is at 0.6. What do you think about that? Do you have anything on that, Ashley? Okay, video.
All right, let's see a video.
What we understand about mortality, there's different ways that mortality can be calculated. And if we look very crudely, if we look at the number of people that have died over the number of people that have been reported, you get a certain percentage. What many groups are looking at right now is what we're calling the infection fatality ratio, which is looking at the number of deaths among all of the people who have been infected. And right now, we don't know how many people have been infected because there are challenges with surveillance and detecting every single one of the cases. And certainly, there are many unrecognized cases at the moment. What we understand from many
all right,
of these
so
studies
they just want you to do.
But Shannon, think about this for a second. What she's saying and all these other doctors on television are saying is a lie if this virus is coming from environmental factors like 5G radiation or your glyphosate or whatever it may be. If our bodies are and be infected by in these areas, well, this is all lies. These are lies.
And listen to what Tom said. The testing does not work. Even the guy that made it said it doesn't work. And why did he die? Just old age?
We don't know. I mean, that's something to look into. You know, the guy and the testing. Guys, you know what they're doing to healthcare providers right now? They're driving them insane by these testings. They're going insane. Assisted living properties, nursing homes, all of them, because you can't come in a caregiver and unless you get tested. Let me tell you something. If you guys have family or loved ones in nursing homes, forget being worried about getting a COVID-19. Be more concerned them having staff to take care of them so they don't fall and break a hip.
Or they don't have an advocate there.
Or having somebody there care for them more so than getting the COVID-19, because they're finding out with the hydrochloroquine and other things, you can actually help that process and the death rate's much lower. But if this is happening, do not let your caregivers go in there if they don't have the testing in time or whatever, because it's not even testing accurately.
I bet the doctors are happy about this because they don't have the pain in the arses, like telling them, being advocates for the
it's not only
dying
that, but elderly in these places
really
are getting hurt, Shannon, because they're not getting caregivers.
I know.
Because they're not allowed in because they're testing. They're not even being tested, or they're
not to
testing
mention
negative or positive.
love. They need love. That's the biggest thing, especially if you're elderly. You spent your whole life and now you can't even see your family. I think it's crazy. Let me just read this because this blew my mind. So, 2 Portland police officers hurt, 16 rioters arrested during last night's protest. Guess what they did?
What?
They start throwing. I don't know where I put it, but they started throwing something. Yeah. Eggs, and it turned into fireworks. They started throwing fireworks at officers.
Wow.
Are you crazy? So one of the officer had her burn to her face because her face mask melted.
Oh, God.
Yeah, she's really hurt, and you can see pictures of it. And it's just like, are you crazy? So from the ages of 21 to 46, 16 were arrested for doing that.
That's crazy.
Who throws fireworks at officers. That's just straight up criminal.
This is set up so when if they turn on 5G and people start dropping, they already have the communists ready to roll in with their agenda, and then you can have Trump come in with the saving the day with the military, and that's when we go totalitarian. That's my prediction. Marley says, "How can we protect ourselves from 5G?" We have Liz Barris. She'll be coming in. And she's going to be actually discussing some things that we could do to protect ourselves and what we need to be going forward, which is a great show. Wait, 1-2 punch today,
So make sure you guys are sharing this right now on Facebook.
Get it out there. Get people watching this, because this information, guys, you're not getting anywhere else. At least if you are, you're not getting it all condensed in 2.5 hours. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
So I got some news for you.
Okay.
You just talked about the police officers. Antiva BLM shot at a police officer at his home during a protest. In Wisconsin on Saturday, Officer Joseph Menshaw, a black policeman, reported that he was being physically assaulted outside of his home. A shotgun was fired into his home from around a group of 50 to 60 people gathered there to protest against the officer because he had been fatally shot 3 people over 5 years in service. The mob also vandalized his home. He said it was ironic that the gang chanted Black Lives Matter, but had no regard for him, his girlfriend, or his 3 children inside the house.
Oh my gosh. That's what it's just a bunch of punks.
Shot. They're shooting at him. That's not punks.
Criminals.
That's potential, homicidal murderers.
They're gangsters.
Gangsters, exactly right.
So finally, the Chicago mayor, on top of that, to piggyback, she's finally putting an end to it. And you know what she said? What? She said that we are not going to let our city be taken over by criminals. And she said this, "We are coming for you." And I love that. We are coming for you. Because just 100 arrests and 13 officers were hurt from another looting, crimes, shooting, really bad stuff is happening. So she said, "We're coming for you." And it's about time. And if you guys are mayors of other cities that this craziness is happening, you've got to stand up. It doesn't matter what color you are at this point. Yeah. You've got to stand up and protect the innocent.
Yeah. Well, Shannon, I think we'll bring our guests a little bit earlier than usual. But Shannon, add on to this. What you're saying is that isn't it crazy that this could be a big setup? That this could be set up where they're allowing, because George Soros is part of the pawn and the puppet master, allowing this BLM and the rioters and Antifa all to go into action for a reason. They're not just doing it and they're not making headway right now. They're doing it for a future event, so they have their apparatus in position. So when, say, people start dropping, then these guys are going to go in full force, communist role, and then there'll have to be a battle.
You guys
at some point.
And Marley just brought up a good point. She said that I read that all the proceeds and donations are going into the Democratic Party, and that's the thing. You think crazy. That you're like funding Black Lives Matter? Listen, nothing's going back to these communities. Nothing. It is going into the hands of the rich. It's going into, because again, you think that you're doing the right thing, but really you're just a puppet in what they think, and they're laughing at you. They're laughing at you for doing exactly what they want you to do.
Yeah, and it's amazing, the psyop and the disinformation. So check this out. The appeal for church and the world to Catholics, all people are of goodwill. So this is a letter that was in May, a high-ranking leader in the Catholic Church. There's actually perhaps still good people in the Catholic Church. His appeal to all men and women of goodwill to join together against powers that are creating panic over COVID-19 in order to restrict freedoms that is likely to lead to world government beyond control. This is a Catholic, cardinal priest or whoever he was. The letter criticized the unnecessary closure of businesses that damage entire economies, isolation of people as far as from social engineering, profit-motivating vaccines instead of effective remedies, and also aborted fetuses and experts and blah, blah, blah. Guess what the Vatican did?
What?
The Pope. The Pope did not sign the appeal.
What do you think about that?
Well, I think the Pope's Satan or works for him.
That just goes to what even Tom was saying about the Vatican.
Yeah, it's compromised. It's been compromised.
It's since day one.
I know. It's just, but can you believe a good Catholic person is trying to get an appeal and the Pope wouldn't even sign that? Why would he want that? Why would he want people freedom and
because
and
do you
all
think
this?
it has to do? It's the Luciferian agenda. It's the bloodline. It all comes back to the bloodline. And you know what? I thought that this whole COVID thing here in America was all political, but now I'm seeing that it's not, because look at what's going on in the world.
It's not literally. It's not going to stop, guys. In my opinion, I'm telling you right now, and I hate to be right most of the time. It's not going to stop after November 4th. is going to continue. It's going to get worse unless we stand up and create mandates. We got to do mandates. Just like Tom was saying, we got to mandate and say no more. Stand up. We got to say that's it. And organize, arm to arm, get people together, organize these things.
That's what I believe is happening here in 2020, hindsight 2020. Like, we are going to become more aware than we've ever been before, and we already are.
I know, yeah.
We already are.
That is the good news. I think we won already just from that alone, but we need a lot more. Why go through this unnecessary pain and suffering? We don't have to.
Do I even have time for more news?
Yeah.
So, Las Vegas officials shut down Miss Nevada beauty pageant for violating health and safety guidelines. So apparently, did you know that? So I'll just say, long story short.
Yeah.
The mayor there, or the governor, I'm sorry, was clearly a Democrat, right? So, because they want Nevada's vote blue. You know that, right? So they want the absentee ballots.
Yeah.
So that's why they had a gathering more than 50 people, because there was about 200 people in the audience, and they shut it down.
Well, is that what in Nevada? Was that Nevada? Or
Nevada. And I just had news on it last week about what Trump said. Trump's like, hey, thanks a lot.
Okay, this is the scariest news in America I've seen so far, and I'm going to share this before we bring our guest in here.
And we had to take a break before that.
We got to take a break. Okay, can you get her on? Can you tell us when you get her on? All right, so New York City begins registering travelers at COVID-19 checkpoints. This is Nazi what's happening now. People are going along with it.
I was wondering when that was going to happen.
New York City has established checkpoints to register visitors and residents returning from interstate travel, not just the airplane now. When you're driving your car and you're going in and from New York City, you are required to quarantine for 14 days. The official explanation is that is needed to forestall a second wave of COVID-19, which is bogus, right? We already know that it's probably a virus being created from outside toxins or radiation. Teams now are stopping travelers arriving in the city by train, requiring them to complete a health status form and advise them that they face a fine as high as $10,000 for failing to quarantine. That's something that if radiation is causing it, quarantine's not going to help you, right? Checkpoints currently do not involve the police, but city sheriff officer said motorists coming into the city on bridges will be stopped at random.
Oh my gosh.
If people who are required for quarantine 14 days do not reach or cannot be reached by phone, contact tracers. We're giving these are the SS guys. Contact tracers will be sent to their homes, knocking on your door in your home. The SS, where are your papers? Home to determine if citizens have obeyed the demands.
That was the best accent ever.
The officials say the efforts rely on voluntary compliance for now. Guys, don't you see? It's the frog in water. Now it's voluntary, but there's still contact tracers coming to your door. They're stopping you at stopping points. They're asking for papers. Soon they'll be asking for your vaccine papers. And this is where we're going. We're allowing this. If every New Yorker right now listening, you're allowing this.
Charlene says, don't open the door. That's funny.
But they'll be breaking in at some point. You can't allow this for this phony health scare. All right? Oh,
all right,
God,
guys, we got to go to break. But when we get back, we have Liz Barris, founder and director, and she's going to teach us peopleinitiative.org, and she's going to teach us about 5G. So if you have any questions about what we learned already from Tom and then this guy, Tim,
and what you can
write them out. We will read them.
Yes, we will.
Yeah, we'll be right back.
Influenza viruses cause upper respiratory infections. So even if the vaccine wasn't contaminated at all, why would you give the most susceptible people an upper respiratory infection in order to prevent an upper respiratory infection? So they're actually driving the disease. And you open this part of the show with the paper that showed this in the military.
The game is to prevent the therapies till everyone is infected and push the vaccines, knowing that the flu vaccines increase the odds by 36% of getting COVID-19.
Where does that data come from?
A publication last year where the military who had been vaccinated with influenza were more susceptible to coronaviruses. Coronaviruses are in every animal. So if you've ever had a flu vaccine, you were injected with coronaviruses.
So the most important message is no flu shot. So you can only assume that it's deliberate for Robert Redfield to stand there and say that yesterday. Oh, and get him at the end of the summer And that's going to make, and then they're going to say, oh, look, COVID-19 came back because we let you out of your homes too soon. And it won't be because you let them out of the homes too soon. It will be because you drove the flu shot and people ran to get their flu shots because they wanted to go back to work. So the most important thing the public can do is get no shots, go back to work right now, show the natural herd immunity, and show that it won't come back in the fall because we didn't drive it, well, you know, with the flu shots, because we developed natural immunity. We got out of our houses in the summer, got healthy, we'll be fine.
They support us so we can support you. Hear about conscious businesses that provide goods and services to our community. Through one another, we uplift and support for the greater good. Let's give a hand to our goodwill partners.
Welcome to Awaken Atlanta. I'm Tim Ray with Shannon McVeigh.
Good morning.
And we are discussing the viruses today. What's going on? My mind's blown. I learned so much today.
Did you learn so much?
Well, kind of.
I mean, oh, look at you. There's the humble dude. I really did learn so much today. We're going to keep learning because we have Liz Barris on.
Yes.
Good morning, Liz.
Good morning, you guys. I want to apologize for any confusion on my end. I, for some reason, thought 8:30 Pacific time.
Oh, no problem. Welcome up. Well, I'm glad you made it up this early. So you're really early over there where you are right now. So Liz, you have an organization and the peoplesinitiative.org, and you're actually suing the FCC, who's responsible for 5G. You're suing them with some high-level attorneys around the country, around the world.
Good for you.
And so why are you suing the FCC?
Well, I just want to say something about the site, which is under construction. I actually have 5 websites. Citizens for Radiation-Free Community.org has a lot of info that's kind of up to date. The People's Initiative is under construction. So you said, why are we suing the FCC?
Yeah.
Well, because they've been lying to the American public. They've been covering up health effects associated with wireless radiation. And I'm talking about everything from Wi-Fi in the school to your smartphone to little things that kids play with, baby monitors, cell towers, smart meters on your home. There isn't one wireless radiation emitting device or infrastructure that is not slowly and sometimes quickly killing people, okay? This stuff is deadly. And I'm not being an alarmist. I'm just being real. The National Toxicology Program, excuse me, part of NIH, National Institute of Health, highest scientific office in the United States of America, found clear evidence of statistically significant carcinogenic effects. The cancers they found were brain, heart, liver, pituitary, and brain, heart, liver, prostate, pituitary, and adrenal gland. And they found some lung. I hope I didn't leave any out. Liver and pancreas. And pancreas.
So Liz, who's helping you sue them? I mean, you're going against the FCC. You're going against, the government. You're going against the world government at this point. So, hello, who's helping you out here?
Hello. Well, we do have a spectacular legal team. We have Ed Myers is the fellow that wrote the amicus brief to get the NEPA ruling in the recent FCC hearing, which means they must consider National Environmental Policy Act or Protection Act when they are installing cell towers and antennas. This has to do with that 5G rollout. So Ed helped, he was integral to get that win. Sorry for this light flickering.
That's okay. Don't worry about it.
I had to evacuate my home because the neighbor upgraded their Wi-Fi and it was making me vomit and sleep in my car.
Oh, God.
Yes.
You're hypersensitive to that. Yeah.
Very sensitive. Yeah. I'm the canary in the coal mine. And so I'm in Oregon right now, deep in the woods, and I'm in this place. And, it's a great place.
So Liz, let me ask you a question. So here it is, the FCC, you're suing them. You got a top lawyer helping you sue them. And your concern is that their actual radiation poisoning that's occurring, people are getting sick from it, literally. Yourself, you said you're vomiting. So what's the FCC response? I mean, what are they saying to you? This is crazy?
Yeah, and by the way, the other really crack attorney that we have is Robert F. Kennedy.
Excellent. There you go. There you go, Robert F. Kennedy.
That's a good one.
That is very good one.
Okay,
yeah.
okay, good.
I would say that's a good one.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that's a good one. That's a good guy.
So, your question about the FCC, what was
What's their response to you suing them?
Well, they're going to have to answer in a brief now. They've been responding by saying none of this exists. None of your complaints are real. We don't believe our own national toxicology program. They're just totally, they are the wireless industry. Every single Chairman Pai, he was an attorney for, I think, Verizon and AT&T or one of them. Anyway, the guy before, Tom Wheeler, president of the CTIA. There isn't anybody that's in a high place at the FCC that did not work for the wireless industry for almost their whole career, and they must have actually really done a lot for the wireless industry to get in those positions. They just completely, they are going to be responsible for millions of illnesses and deaths in this country and globally because they are looked to, also.
So do you think that is what COVID-19 really is the rollout of the 5G?
Okay, so just regarding that, 5G decimates the immune system, okay? So does I want you to know that 5G has 4G in it, okay? I became seriously ill. I'm not supposed to, precancerous cells after the surgery, they said stage 2. I'm not supposed to talk about that because I'm actually going to most likely be suing on that also. And that's going to be separate. That's directly against the wireless industry, not necessarily the FCC. So I'm not going to talk about that too much. But I'm sorry, what was your question though?
If you think that COVID-19 is
5G. A beard for the 5G, or they are working in conjunction with each other.
Okay, so let me just tell you a couple of interesting things. One is there was a video that I took a screen capture of because I thought it'd be pulled. It showed a UK installer. They were given instructions not to open the box. Did you guys see this video?
No.
Okay, so they were
I did see that. It said COVID-19 on there.
Right. Now, some people would think, well, that's crazy. That was a plant.
Yeah,
blah, blah, blah.
made up. Yeah.
Well, I believe that video was real. Okay. I don't believe that was plant. The reason why I'll tell you is because they're going to be putting, to my knowledge, and there's patents on this, okay, nanotech into the COVID-19 vaccines. And they want to you're going to have to get a vaccine every year because they want to upgrade you to their computer. They want to update their computer every year. The mainframe, you'll be upgraded and uploaded into the computer every year. Yeah. And so there is a relationship between transmitters, nanotech, and this COVID-19. They've also got these little electrical things in the actual vaccine. They're using electromagnetic radiation emitting devices. Apparently, they have patents and everything.
Yeah. Bill Gates has that.
They may be using it because I don't have my own factual evidence of that. I saw it in my own eyes, but I know the patents are real. Bill Gates owns RFID 2020.
Yeah.
And so not only does the 5G decimate the immune system, they're going to be putting, I believe they're going to be putting nanotransmitters into these vaccines.
They call nanotechnology into these vaccines where you're saying will be in sync with the COVID-19 transmitters that are in the LED lighting, in those tower masts that are being put up everywhere in our school systems and everywhere. So kids will actually get these transmitters if they get the vaccines, if they don't already have them. And so there's this connection between the 5G, the injections, and the communication of AI, artificial intelligence, being upgrading humans to be artificial intelligence. Now, Liz, with that being said, I don't doubt you. I mean, a lot of people think this is just out of this world chaos. This is.
You don't sound crazy, like out of a weird movie.
Yes, exactly, like out of a Twilight Zone movie, right? But a lot of people are waking up to this, and there's a lot more evidence supporting this than not supporting it. So usually what people do, and this is what I want everyone to listen to, when you hear this information and people are saying don't listen to it, the first thing they're going to do is discredit the person.
Right,
they're going to discredit the person. He's not a doctor. She's crazy. He's this. He's that. And when they start discrediting them, when they
going by the patents, don't take my word. Look at the patents. They have patents.
Yes.
There's something called self-assembling nanotech. When they put this nanotech in your body, it can actually self-assemble. There's videos videos on how this is done all over YouTube even. They haven't taken them down.
Wow.
Self-assembly technology that can be injected because it's so on a pinprick, it's so small, it can get into your bloodstream. And they're saying these technology can self-assembly while it's in your system.
Oh my gosh.
It's like Transformers. Transformers activate.
I was thinking like the Terminator. That is scary AF, especially for the children that have all the vaccines.
They're blending us to be somewhat robotic and somewhat human. So this is my biggest concern here in Georgia, Liz. Our governor, outgoing governor, and our new governor coming in, they basically worked out a deal where they sold the right-of-ways of in Georgia, every property in everybody's home, in front of their homes, they sold the right-of-ways from the counties owning it to now the big telecom tech companies own them, like the Verizons and all the tech companies. So now the tech companies, and supported by the FCC, owns our right-of-ways. And the main purpose is for them to put those small 5G masts in front of each person's homes. What can be done about that? And if that's the case, how dangerous is this?
It's so dangerous. Oh, you guys, this is a depopulation event. I really don't mean to sound like an alarmist, a crazy person. Let me just, it's so deep. This is so deep rooted, this entire issue. They are related. COVID-19, 5G rollout. Why did they lock everybody down while they rolled 5G out? Mm-hmm. That happened not just in the United States, worldwide. There's a group of people, the Committee of 300. It's really unreal stuff. These globalists, they run the world. Our president, God bless him, he doesn't necessarily run the show, though. No. We want him to do what he can to fight this. But so how dangerous is it? So you guys you're in Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah.
So, right. Well, one of the things is, of course, there's a depopulation event. That's how I look at this, as a depopulation event. And I do believe that race is a part of that. I know Georgia, Atlanta is primarily Black. Correct. In
downtown Atlanta. But these are being rolled out in the suburbs. These are being rolled out everywhere. They're starting with the city and then moving forward,
We already have them here.
Yeah, we already have them. Yeah.
It started in 2018.
So it's nothing personal. They just want to depopulate. It's nothing personal. They want to track you, trace you, depopulate. But let me just tell you, how do you fight this? You guys have to organize locally. You have to start raising awareness. People there, they don't even know probably that this stuff is so deadly.
Right.
I mean, nobody even knows that their little kid, that the little cell tower they put to watch the baby over the baby monitor, that transmits. I've measured that. I have taken all the courses at biobiology. I've passed all the electromagnetic radiation specialist courses. Those things are measuring as high as a cell tower when you're standing. Yes. When you stand below the cell tower, and it's higher than a cell tower, because you're only getting like 650 microwatts per meter squared or whatever from the cell tower, which is huge, okay? I've had baby monitors measure 2,000 microwatts per meter squared.
Oh my gosh.
Destroying your baby's DNA,
So you're saying we have to organize, because right now, as this is rolled out in Georgia, it's being rolled out in other states too.
Other countries.
And other countries. So it seems like, we've had shows on our other shows, Frequency Wars, people like Mark Steele and others who talk about this is a kill grid. The triggering effect from 5G with the vaccine and these nanobots self dismantling. That just blows my mind.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. And that this combination is a kill grid, a depopulation kill grid.
Yeah, you won't be able to escape it. They have about 50 to 100,000 low orbit 5G Wi-Fi satellites that they are right now. It's a public-private partnership. Elon Musk, Starlink. There's a whole bunch of companies. He's not the only one, and they're putting them up. It's going to be a surveillance lockdown grid of the whole Earth. And what's so frightening about that, not only people like me that are sensitive will have absolutely nowhere to get away. I mean, I've been paying 2 rents for like the past year.
Wow.
This place in Oregon that I'm at right now, just in case it got really crazy and I couldn't handle the radiation.
Right.
And my place in LA, I rented the place here because it has a metal roof to block that 5G. But
Yes.
But I just want to point out that this is resonant with a lot of insects. We've had a 60% insect depopulation, the decline rather.
Bees drop out of the air. Birds drop out of the air when the 5G is turned on right in those areas.
It's so sad. I mean, this doesn't just affect people, plants, but this is a serious, these people are absolutely, I feel like there's a demonic agenda.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are coming to that realization. We only have a couple minutes left here, but what can people do, individuals do right now, if outside of fighting the law and going through the court cases and suing and, of course, supporting you, what can they do in their homes? Like you said, they had a metal roof. I mean, what are some little things they could do to help with the reducing of the 5G and their EMFs?
So many little things that they can do. First of all, AT&T is trying to force people and everybody, they're trying to force you onto 5G phones now. Don't upgrade. First of all, do not upgrade. Protest against them. Go to hardline. Forward your cell phone. I know this is crazy. People don't want to do this. Forward your cell phone to a hardline phone. Hardwire your Wi-Fi so it's Ethernet. There's no health effects with that, like almost zero, okay? Why do it to yourself? They're trying to do it to you now. Why do it to yourself? Hardwire everything you can. Just know that you are being lied to 24/7 by the mainstream news media, who is absolutely funded by both of these industries, the pharmaceutical and the wireless industry. Those are probably their two biggest advertisers. Plus, if anybody goes off script and reports about what we're talking about, they'll be not only fired, but potentially acted upon. We had really serious stuff happen to the vice president of programming over at like MSNBC. His whole family was taken out. This was covered up. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. Because, this was when he was publicizing the banking
cartel,
the lawsuit, $1 trillion lawsuit against the banking people 10 years ago in New York City. So I mean,
this is a real deal.
They control the media, they control the message, and you better not get off it. That's why programs like yours are so important.
So some other things they could do real quick here is they could get those things beyond the cell phone. Does that work? Those little things put on your cell phone? No.
Okay. So they'll work right in that spot. I mean, as far as I know, every single one of them have the same problem. They'll work right there, except everywhere else you're getting doused. Right. Okay. When you have that phone on speaker, you think you're going to be safe. That's what I thought. Well, I had the speakerphone in my hand. I actually got a tumor in my hand. Okay. Wow. So forget that tumor, though. Let's say you put it on the dashboard. You don't want it against your head. Okay. Yeah. You're still getting doused with radiation. So much radiation, you guys. None of it is safe. Okay, I don't care if that phone is
So the answer is hardwire in your house, or run your cell phone maybe through your landline. Get your internet Ethernet set up in different rooms rather than having the wireless set up in your house. And protect yourself. Maybe some metal roofing. Move your smart meters 300 feet away from you is good advice from your house.
No, get rid of the smart meters because they can take you out with that smart meter. They can actually program it. It's an armed spy device. That's what I call it. It does surveillance, but it's just a computer that has a weapon. It's a weaponized computer.
So you can get rid of it? You could actually...
Excuse me, you have to hear this.
Good.
They can give you a heart attack in the middle of the night.
Oh, my goodness.
This is pulsed microwave radiation. My friend, my good close friend, actually, and she's young and everything, just died in the middle of the night out of nowhere. She just had a heart attack. She just moved into this new place. I'm not in LA, so I couldn't really go see where she was at. I suspect, of course, that it's so many studies show you can induce heart attack in animals just by the CIA has the heart attack gun. They just pointed out you had no evidence, nothing. The smart meter can kill.
And that's electromagnetic frequency pulses what they're using.
You two kids, we gotta go because we have our recap.
So real quick, people reach you real quick.
My phone number, it's a voicemail, no texting, just call 310-281-9639. Leave a verbal message, I'll call you back. contact@thepeoplesinitiative.org is my email address. And I have 5 websites. I won't go into all of them here.
Thank you, Liz. Great job.
Thank you so much.
We'll have to have you back and talk some more about this in the future. Guys, we got the recap. We're going to go right into our recap since we're a little bit behind. Shannon, I know. When you get quiet, you get scared.
No, I get quiet because you get excited and you don't let me speak at all.
Oh, I thought you get scared.
You're a mansplainer all the time. You've got to let me be part of this.
Okay, but that's
I'm
fine.
saying that on air because it ticks me off.
Well, I'm sorry, but sometimes
I have a voice. You
but
don't
I have these questions. I have to get out.
Yeah,
it's like I'm compelled to.
All right, we'll talk after the show. I'll beat you into submission after the show. You are in trouble.
So tell me how you feeling about this.
Okay, so this is what I wanted to freaking ask that you never let me get out.
Yeah.
There's so much of a contradiction with everything that we learn. We learned that you're sick with COVID because of the conflict that's within you, right?
Yeah.
You learn that you get cancer because of some sort of emotion or trapped body.
Yeah.
But she's saying, no, it's 5G. So which one is it? If you don't want the conflict, if you can get it from just the radiation, then why can't you just get the virus? So it's like we're a big contradiction here.
I can answer that.
Right.
I think people who I think from 5G to the COVID, whatever it may be, bacterial, viruses, all that stuff, you increase your frequency, you raise your frequency,
right?
You could avoid even the 5G because you're not letting the 5G affect you because you're at a different frequency than the 5G frequency.
So it's still the conflict then. So
well, it's not only the conflict, it's still your mindset and how you feel each day and love. Like when you people say embrace the Christ energy, that love energy, that feeling of bliss, right?
Yes.
When you're in that bliss, nothing can touch you frequency wise. Physical or even, physical or everything is physical. Nothing could touch you frequency wise.
I believe that because love outweighs everything, right?
I agree. But with this, I mean, I didn't know that I knew about the smart meters, but I didn't know you could eliminate your smart meters. Maybe you can.
So you did learn something.
Yeah.
I have no idea what a smart meter is.
It's your electricity outside of your bedroom. Usually they put them there.
Okay, but doesn't this make you think? Because look at when we talk about the holistic doctors, how they talk about the whole body, not just one part of the body.
Yeah.
So people like Liz and people like Tom and people like you and I, who we have on, we have to look at the whole picture. We can't just say, because people have their own specialties. Like she studies 5G, so she's like 5G is doing this, and Tom's like, no, it's a conflict and no viruses and blah blah blah. So we have to look at the whole thing. This is a lot on our brains, right? Do you feel like your brain just ran a race and you're sweating? It's like a marathon.
And it really is. But the sooner we wake up to it, the sooner we can make smarter decisions. Like, for example, if you start seeing people getting sick in your family, turn off your Wi-Fi, get away from the 5G radiation, rather than listen to the Dr. Fauci saying put a mask on, which is affecting your breathing worse, or being shipped off with a contact tracer to a hospital where 5G is very potent. I mean, so you can make smarter decisions, and all of a sudden, and when you're away from the 5G or radiation, you get better immediately. So that's the whole thing about it. That's why knowing this information makes you smarter to make better decisions.
Yes, and I do honestly, for the first time, am thinking and believing that COVID is more and more in cahoots with 5G, for sure. Anyway, where'd you go? Charlene says, good medicine, laughing. Nicole says, what if you just wear a headset? Would that make everything okay as far as not receiving high frequency radiation? So that's interesting because I'm even worried about wearing these in our ears.
I know.
Are they okay?
Tell me what you think, Shannon, and for you, what are you going to do after today?
Tim, what do you mean?
After what you learned today, what's some measures you'll take?
I'll just keep researching. I'm just going to research. That's what I'm going to do today. I'm just going to research because I have other things that are more important right now to me than COVID and 5G because it's personal, and that's what I'm going to do, and that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, we're just living in this.
You can only take on so much. You
can only take on so much, humans, and that's why I think a lot of people. I want to encourage you guys out there with everything going on, just to stay steadfast and to know that you are loved and to know that your thoughts create your reality. So to really be mindful of what you read, what you listen to, what you watch on TV. Like, just be so careful.
Yes. What do we have? We have another show coming up here, Ashley. What do you have coming on Thursday?
Are we doing Thursday different time, right?
No.
Yes, because it's my daughter's first day of school, so you guys have to come to a different time with us. We're coming on 8. We're going to be live at 8 a.m. Thursday.
Are you sure?
Or 7:30 a.m.
7:30, I thought.
7:30 a.m. Thursday. Just Thursday. It's just one day. It'll be fun.
Okay, what they say.
They say.
So what is the show
It's always
on?
fun till somebody pokes their eye out.
Frontline Doctors, and then Tuesdays beauty pageants.
Wait, our show Thursdays on Frontline Doctors?
Yes.
Who did we get? We got the Frontline Doctor?
We're working on it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Well, then all right.
And then we got Tuesday. So maybe
beauty pageants.
Maybe she has to go to school on her own.
Elbow, wrist. No.
I'm just kidding.
It's our
I'm
first
joking.
day of school. What are you going to do differently today?
I'm going to research.
You're going to take away your smart meter?
I'm going to research getting rid of my smart meter if I could actually change it. And also going to look at getting the Ethernet back into. Okay, you used to have Ethernet everywhere, right? Now we got all the wireless, and so now I'm going to see about getting Ethernet back in. I have to go backwards, you know. And now all like our televisions are all Wi-Fi. Now we have to go back to cable lines.
I wonder how many people. Why would people watch you through your TV? But if they're not just a hacker, like what would the government have to do? Like blackmail?
Well, yeah, blackmail. They could monitor you. I mean, then they'll hand it off to the local sheriff. Not like the CIA is going to come down, but they'll hand it to your local folks there. And
so I have a good friend that thinks that you are a really huge conspiracy theorist, right? Like tinfoil hat and everything.
Yeah.
And we were talking the other day on FaceTime, and I was like, I can't see you. And she's like, oh, I have paper over my camera. I was like, oh, who's the conspiracy theorist now? Like on the phone. I thought it was so funny.
Yeah. Well, you're a conspiracy theorist until you see the reality in your life.
You
right?
can only be a conspiracy theorist for so long until you realize, like, holy cow, this is true. So Charlene says, I'm glad I stumbled upon you guys. Thank you. Thank you so much for being a part of the show and commenting. Guys, we love you. We want you all to be safe, make smart decisions, and definitely share this show because that's the best thing you can do for your fellow brother and sister.
And Mezza Live, Thursday, 4 p.m., guys. Check her out, Nicole. And we got a whole bunch of other folks coming on, too. You'll
Frequency Wars tomorrow with Griffin.
Yeah, Griffin. G-E-E Griffin, guys, coming on. G.E. Griffin coming on tomorrow with Alex Newman. You're not going to miss that show.
We love you. Be safe. See you Thursday.
Adios.
7:30.
You've been listening to Awaken Atlanta, a conscious way to start your day. Catch us live Monday through Friday from 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Spreaker at UI Media Network. Have any questions you'd like to ask our team? Or maybe you'd like to say hello? Write to us at awakenatlanta@uimedianetwork.org and get a chance to be featured on our show. Until next time, live life with intent and have a great rest of your day. The United Intentions Foundation and its associates take no responsibility for the opinions and statements made by the talk show hosts